Flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Did the math, I'm baby Johnny Cash. My girl gon' throw it back, damn my life is cinemax. Holy hell, this max, I make hits and you make trash. I'm on vacay, do not ask, poolside eating Apple Jacks. Shut up, bitch, shut up. Big deal like TJ Maxx, want some cataracts, watch a naughty tag. Nick Cage, how I act, heavily dislike tax. Got some aces on my feet, never wear a mask. I'm in the cut like a wound, wake your ass up, make some room. And my girl, coming soon, I don't fuck with honeymoons. Throw some money on my tune, finesse too hard, I'm feeling Girls love me, they want a spoon, let me finish, I'll resume. Flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. I just curved cameo, she said I'm a Romeo. She gon' split me up and lit me up like Oreo. First global book deal, sell that shit to Indigo. Getting money since I was an itty bitty embryo. Save my money when I die for the fam. Always make a sale, catamaran. Shawty tryna play some games where I don't play Catan. I'm a plug, she an outlet, cut up Mr. Middleman. Yeah, I got ass that she wants to come see. Yeah, only speak the truth, hyperbole. God damn, I sound good on this beach. Extraterrestrial ET, flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math.
Oh, don't you worry, I'm gonna be there in a hurry. Life just ain't fair, but it still goes on, even if it's all wrong. Oh, but don't you worry, I'm gonna be there for you.
Was it the first night that we got high when I saw peace in them blue eyes? And the same night that we did fight was the first time that you did lie. Cause you told me you never wanted love, cause you never thought that you would be enough. But it takes time, we can learn to trust. I just wanna know if you gon' give us up and see. Always been trying to be the person you need to be clean, but you don't believe. Showing you I love you and gave you my promise that I'll never leave. I know you've been hurt and left it with knees. Your parents abandoned a person to bleed, but life had a mission to water a seed. A journey, I'm hoping you take it with me.
Oh, don't you worry, I'm gonna be there in a hurry. Life just ain't fair, but it still goes on, even if it's all wrong. Oh, but don't you worry, I'm gonna be there for you.
Leave, you wanna go, don't gotta deal with the trauma alone. I'm on a peace, I wanna cope. You are the reason that I feel at home, cause I feel the same. I melted away, it's due to the issues and all of the shame. I hope you can love me before I can change. Hope you forgive me for all the mistakes. You had to see shit, watch them leave quick. They ain't love you like I do. Get my whole life just to make sure that you knew that and that's truth. I'll watch these nights past you fade away, and it's getting worse when it used. While I'm knowing that it's on you, but I promise that we won't lose.
Oh, don't you worry, ain't fair, but it still goes on, even if it's all wrong. Oh, but don't you worry, I'm gonna be there for you.
I'm stopping the music. As you guys can see, I'm obviously clearly not in the best headspace, but it's very clear why, if you guys know. This squad right here, this team got embarrassed by the Detroit Lions yesterday. So, not exactly in the best mood, but you know what? We're going to do what we got to do best. We're going to put our, therapy glasses on, and we're going to sit here as a unit and talk out what we went through. Because it just was not a good day for football yesterday, if you were a football fan. A lot of teams, unless you're a Jets fan. But for a majority of good people who have good teams right now, it was not a good day. I'm talking Niners fans, specifically. I'm talking to Giants fans with heartbreaking way to lose Sunday Night Football last night. I'm talking the Eagles. There's a lot of games last night that left a lot of unanswered questions. And now we're going to be going back to that again. So, if you guys don't know already, my name is Brian Mansell. I'm a sports media professional who's been working in the industry now for a couple of years. I have a podcast. Or whatever you want to call this, a vodcast. I don't care for the terminology, but this is the Brian Mansell Show, where I talk about all the latest sports news, all the latest sports topics, everything going on around the world. And we are 2 followers away, by the way, 2 more, from hitting our goal of number 15. We want to hit 15 followers on the channel as soon as possible to make it the best way and make it better and help this channel grow further down the line. So, if you guys are tuning in for the first time, please feel free to give us a follow here. It would really help us a lot in making this channel bigger here on the Twitch realm and the sports community. So a quick rundown of today's topics. NFL Week 6 yesterday, of course, we have to recap that. And we're going to have a therapy session for any fans that are here in attendance. It's going to give you guys enough time to, get in here a little bit at a time, call into the show, so that this way we can do a call-in, we can discuss any questions you guys have about your teams, and we'll fully answer those so that there's no stone left unturned. After we get through the therapy session, the recovery and recap of whatever you want to call Week 6, we're going to go into baseball and talk about the Rangers. They beat the Astros yesterday in Game 1. Very low-scoring game, 2-0. Strong pitching performance from Jordan Montgomery, and still a solid performance from Justin Verlander. But nevertheless, the Rangers steal Game 1 in front of a Houston crowd. So they're up 1-0 now in the series, going into Game 2 this afternoon. What does this mean for the series moving forward? Marlins have decided to part ways with their general manager, Kim Ung. And it's actually interesting because the story around it, we'll go more into detail on it, but it's just another typical mistake made by the Miami Marlins organization. And we'll go into details why, and I'll also add in something else involving another woman in sports, specifically in baseball, and the big news around her. And I may have to go on a little bit of a rant, which, guys, be prepared for that. I mean, I'm probably going to rant regardless for the NFL segment, so today could just be a big day of ranting because I'm just going to be yelling at the camera most of the time today. I'm not in the best mood because of it. We're going to talk about why that's a mistake, and we'll go into, maybe, how do I put it? I'm going to put it very bluntly. The sexism that revolves around men's sports, and I'll go into that. And you all can call me whatever you want, but it is, and whatever names, and however you want to feel about it. But from what I've known about these two situations, this is the right way to go about it. So, yes. Women's basketball, WNBA, Liberty survived yesterday and forced a Game 4 over the Aces. And there is an injury now to one of the Aces' key players who's been big in this series. With her down, can the Aces still maintain the lead and secure the win either tonight or if in the event the Liberty force a Game 5 back in Las Vegas, can they finish it off in front of their home crowd? That's what it will come down to. And we'll go into why the Liberty won and if they still have a chance throughout the rest of the series. And we'll close it out with the quick Monday Night Football preview. If you guys don't know, tonight's Monday Night Football game will be the Cowboys and the Chargers in LA, 8:15 Eastern Time on ABC or ESPN, whichever you prefer. But regardless, that is our lineup today for topics. This is going to probably be a long show, so be prepared. This show could easily go until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you guys are here for the long haul, for the long show, please show us some love in the chat. Get talking, start asking questions, start preparing. How are we feeling today? Because I want to be able to say, hey, we really got this going, man. There's a lot of questions with how the NFL went yesterday for a lot of teams. And I want to go into this topic. I think it's important we explore and address the problems that went on yesterday. I really don't want to have to go through it because it's like going through emotional torture when you have to talk about your fandom and the team you're a fan of. But as you guys know, my Bucks definitely did not do a good job yesterday. For example, some of the winning teams that have had a winning record that didn't record a good win yesterday, I want it to be recognized. Here's one winning team. The Seattle Seahawks lose to the Bengals, and that opened the door for the Bengals to officially come back into the picture for the AFC North. They're now only a game behind the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns gave the Niners their first loss of the season with the third-string quarterback. Go figure. Dolphins did their job. Colts. You had Gardner Minshew, who really statistically had a very good day, despite the 3 interceptions. In terms of yardage and stuff, he really didn't have the worst day, but the interceptions killed him. And the Jaguars took advantage of that, and they lost. And now you just found out that Anthony Richardson's probably done for the year, that he's going to get surgery on the shoulder to repair it, and he'll be back next year. So Colts fans might just give up on the season. Another team to talk about, the Saints fans. Give me 1 sec. I just realized I was muted. Okay. Another thing to recognize. The Saints are another team. They were against the Texans yesterday. They are now 500. They lost to Houston. And Houston's now at 500. So there's a collapse going on that we're not addressing. Let's see another one. We won't talk about the Patriots. They've been dying for a while at this point. The Buccaneers losing yesterday to the Lions. I mean, they're both two really good teams. Regardless of who lost, they were going to be involved in therapy session. We're not going to talk about the Cardinals. The Eagles losing to the Jets. That definitely has to be addressed. And just for the hell of it, we're going to include the Giants fans in here because they're really close to knocking out the Bills. And just poor decisions by Tyrod Taylor and by the coaching staff cost them the game. So we're gonna go into detail on all these. And if we have enough people in here by that time, we are going to go through a full thing and talk about everything and let you guys answer the questions. So we're going to start off here now with the London game that was on at 9:30 yesterday. The Ravens and the Titans. That was a game to remember. If I'm being frank, I think they should have lost the game. The Ravens. They really did not put up a good performance. And I'm sure any Ravens fan will tell you that. They'll tell you that it was not a good game for them, and they need a lot of work to get back to where they want to be. That's how I feel they're going to be at. They might disagree, but that's where I currently stand. And I'm going to, we're going to go through the whole thing and talk about it. And, why were the Baltimore Ravens such a tough team yesterday? I mean, we got to figure that out, right? I feel like that's the right thing to do. This is where we welcome in the highlight scene where I just realized I forgot to change the date. Sorry, everybody. Let me change that date real quick. Today is the 16th, for those who don't know, because if you lose track of your days like me, it's good to remember. So 10/16/23, this is the highlight screen, everybody. And as you all know, when we do the highlight screen, we have a YouTube window ready to go. And so we're bringing up the YouTube screen right here with all the highlights. So as you guys see here, it was an interesting game the entire time yesterday. I mean, the Titans were really struggling offensively to get anything going, and we thought Baltimore was in cruise control. It was an easy game moving forward. But Lamar and the offense decided to make things interesting, throwing an interception right here. That opened the door for them to stay right in the game. And bad turnovers like that were keeping them in the game, and that was the problem. You can't expect to win if you're going to do that. That's the truth. You can't expect to win if you're going to keep leaving the door open like that. And Kyle Hamilton was ejected for this really bad hit yesterday on that player, which is something to address as well. You can't expect to win a game when you got a guy coming in and targeting people and hitting them right in the helmet. But fortunate for them, they were able to win this. They were able to pull it out. So let's go full details. Lamar Jackson yesterday, 21 of 30, 223, a touchdown interception. 62 yards on the ground rushing. Leading receiver was Mark Andrews. Touchdowns were credited for the Ravens, Zay Flowers. Now you'd think with that kind of score that maybe the Ravens had scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal, right? Realistically, no. They scored 1 touchdown the entire game, and they kicked 6 field goals and missed an extra point because it was blocked. So you guys tell me. I mean, what does that tell you about the team? That they're not finishing their drives and they're settling for field goals. The Titans were somehow alive in this game. The fact that they were alive is actually kind of scary. Now, I will add this. I think what's interesting is for Tennessee, Tannehill was having a really, really bad day. And he ended up getting hurt and taking a bad ankle hit. His x-rays came up negative, but he's going to get an MRI. We're going to find out the full extent. If I'm being honest with you all, he's probably missing the next week or 2 of games at minimum. It could be longer. Who knows? It could be a muscle tear. We don't know any of this. But if that's the case, Malik Willis, the kid from Liberty, his second-year quarterback, will have to be the starter moving forward for Tennessee, who now falls to 2-4. Malik Willis, 4-5 yesterday, 74 yards, taking over for Tannehill, yet he doubled the amount of sacks that Tannehill had the whole game. 4 sacks. He has a habit of running right into sacks, and he needs to work on avoiding that. He needs to be more mobile in the pocket, be more aware of what's around him, and be smarter. Don't take the sack, throw the ball away. Don't take the sack, throw it away. That's what you have to do. He'd rather take the sack than throw a risky play. Which, again, I don't mind him taking the sack sometimes. But every time? No. There's got to be times where you can avoid that. You can't tell me otherwise. You got to be able to avoid it. Now, yesterday there was some good performances, especially for fantasy-wise. We guys have fantasy players. Really good performance from Lamar overall, despite the fact he had an interception. Andrews, good performance. Zay Flowers was the standout of the game. 50 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. which really was probably the top fantasy guy for that reason. And defensively, there was 6 sacks recorded by Baltimore on Tennessee yesterday. 2 of those sacks belonged to Matabuke, and 2 of them belonged to J. Davion Clowney, shockingly. And a couple contributors all the way around. But in the end, the Ravens really had the control of the game, but they started giving it away once Malik Willis came in and took over for Tannehill. They started mounting a comeback a little bit at a time, and they got to a point where they got close. But on the final drive, right, Tennessee starts making moves and gets really close. So Willis is making big plays. They're trying to get in the end zone on 1st and goal, right? That's the big thing. They had a big play by Tyjae Spears. They got them right in the game, and they were in a good scenario, right? So here's a quick look. 2nd and goal. Throwing in the end zone, he missed Hopkins. Hopkins was in coverage, and then he took on 3rd and goal, they ended up kicking a field goal. They settled at 3rd and goal, which I definitely did not agree with. I didn't like the call. And it means that they had to go for the onside kick, and that was it. That tactic is what sank the game for them. And I don't like that they went with the onside. It bothers me. But who knows? I mean, I can't control what happens here. That's the truth. I can't control it. And I wish that they could go back. There would be better, smarter plays for Willis. I think the coaching is affecting him. I've said it for a while now. I think the system's not meant for Willis. They don't favor him. And for that reason, that is why they do everything they can to make sure that they can't do that. You know what I mean? They do everything they can to make sure that Willis can't start on the team. And if he has to start, they want him to play like Tannehill, not like Willis. And I don't like that about them. I want to see Malik shine. And he's got to play it his way. And if you don't trust the guy to do it his way, he shouldn't be on your team. Plain and simple. I felt the same way with Zach Wilson. You either die by your quarterback, or you lose by acting scared of your quarterback. And I would rather lose knowing my quarterback isn't playing well and I'm letting him do the things he's got to do, than me restricting him and playing scared with him as my quarterback and losing. Because then that makes me look worse. Letting him run the whole offense and do his thing and have no limits and no leash on him, at least I know what I have at my quarterback's position. That's what I would say. At that point it's not on you, it's on the quarterback. If you put him on a leash and you control what he does, then it looks like you. And you don't want it to look like you in the end when stuff hits the fan. In the event it hits the fan. But if you guys do well because your quarterback's picked it up, great. He's meant to be in the NFL. That's it. That's how I see it. Commanders-Falcons, that's another game we got to talk about here. Commanders-Falcons. Sam Howell, great rebound game from him. He didn't pass he didn't pass 200 yards passing yesterday. In fact, he was 14 of 23 for 151 and 3 touchdowns. But he didn't hit 200 yards. Passing game was not big for them yesterday. And Atlanta, Desmond Ridder, not a good game from him. 20 to 47 for 307, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He definitely struggled a lot yesterday. He could not stop turning over the ball. And it came back to bite them. The turnovers really hurt them bad. And there's also Desmond Ridder was in a really good situation to put the Falcons in a good position yesterday. And they got to the end zone and he threw a pick. He threw a pick in the end zone. And once Ridder did that, I think that's when everybody kind of turned on him a bit. Rushing-wise, Bijan didn't even reach 40 yards. Algier was the leading rusher at 51 yards. And in terms of in the passing game, Bijan had more receiving yards than rushing yards at 43 compared to 37. So overall, he had about 80 all-purpose. No touchdowns, though. Leading receiver of the day was Drake London with 125 yards receiving. Pitts had 43 and a touchdown. Jonnu Smith had 36 and a touchdown. And on the Washington side for receiving, leading receiver was McLaurin with 81 yards on 6 catches. But also Curtis Samuel, 42 with a touchdown. Brian Robinson had 2 for 25 and a touchdown. And Gibson had 1 of 1 for 1 touchdown. So a decent day overall for the Commanders. Nothing flashy offensively, but defensively they did their good work. Sacks were recorded by Jamin Davis and Casey Toohill. Had 2 of them, actually. Casey Toohill had 2 sacks of his own. So that's 3 by the unit. I believe, and I think that's all they got on him. Atlanta sacking Sam Howell 5 times yesterday, including, I believe, a sack was credited to Calais Campbell, which helped him hit 100 in his career. So he recorded his 100th career sack. So congratulations to him. The leading players yesterday for sacks were Bud Dupree and Arnold Ebiketie at 1.5. And there was also a sack recorded, I believe, by Greedy Jarrett. But it just comes down to the turnovers. The 3 interceptions. Kendall Fuller, Jamin Davis, and Benjamin St. Juste are the ones who recorded interceptions. 1 for each of them. I mean, this is just a bad performance from Desmond Ridder. It comes down to what we say all the time. It's the way your team performs comes down to your turnovers, limiting them, dominating time of possession, and at the same time, while you're dominating time of possession and limiting the turnovers, it's also the completing the drives. And the only thing the Falcons did right yesterday was they were dominating with the ball in terms of possession. They had it for over 36 minutes, which was great. But if you're not capitalizing with it and doing more with it, what is the point? You know what I mean? You're still you're going long drives down the field just to turn it right over. And that doesn't help your team. It hurts your team. And if you go by the play-by-play, right? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 drives, they completed their drives twice. So 2 of the first 4. 2 of 5. 2 of 6. 2 of 7. 3 of 8. 3 of 9. 3 of 10. 3 of 11. 3 of 11 on their drives. They scored 2 touchdowns, right? That's what they did. They scored 2 touchdowns yesterday, the Falcons. And when they did that, they kicked field goal they kicked the extra point in the first one. And then as I'm going through everything else, I'm trying to figure out how they got to the 16. I'm pretty sure that they scored a touchdown. They kicked the field goal and then they scored a touchdown and they went for 2 and they didn't get it. They went for 2-point conversion, they didn't get it. And so the Falcons stayed at 16. So that's where they were at. And then the whole game, just not in their favor at all. And then you go to the Washington side and you read it. I'm ignoring the end of half plays. You don't count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 of 5 in the second half on drives. 1 of 5. 1 of 6. 2 of 6. 3 of 6. 4 of... sorry, my fault. 1 of 1. 1 and 2. 2 and 3. 3 and 4. 3 and 5. 4 and 6. 4 and 7. 4 and 8. 4 and 9. 4 and 10. They were 4 and 10 yesterday on their drives. And I'm not counting end of half drives. 4 of 10. Way better than what Atlanta did. 1 more completed drive. That's how you win the games. You got to finish them. And completing would mean you either kick a field goal or you score a touchdown. That's the way it's always been. And that's the way I roll when it comes to the way you consider a completed drive. So really, it came down to that. You could dominate time possession all you want, but if you're not scoring, you're not finishing your drives, if you keep turning the ball over, you're going to lose the games. And Washington won in 2 of those 3 categories, so they had the immediate advantage, and Washington won because of it. So Washington having that advantage beats out the Falcons. It's very rare that a team beats another after the other had limited turnovers, dominated time possession, and was finishing more drives. It just doesn't happen that way. They can't have all 3. There's no way that a team has all 3 and loses the game. You just can't. So that's that. Commanders, good game, good bounce back game. They're 3-3 now. Atlanta, not a good game to have. Now you're 3-3. Now you're falling back to the division. The good news, Tampa Bay lost, so you're still alive. You're back by a game. But, how much longer is that going to last? Seattle and Cincinnati is next. The Seahawks took a brutal loss to the Bengals, who are officially getting back here to the swing of things. They've been slightly improving every single week after starting 0-3. After starting 0-2, they've won 3 of their last 4, beating the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks and losing 1 to the Titans in week 4 in a blowout. Like I said, football's weird. But the Bengals are 3-3 now. Going into this game, there was a lot of optimism that the Bengals were going to find a way to get back in this after having a great game last week, resetting against the Cardinals. This would be the beginning for them. Well, it ended up being the truth, as the Bengals went on to win this game 17-13. Offensively, not a great game from Burrow, honestly. 24-35, 185, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception. Not a good game from him, but Geno was worse. 27-41, 323, no TDs, 2 interceptions. And those 2 interceptions, again, costly. Turnovers kill you. Walker, good game fantasy-wise from him if you have him in fantasy. 19 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. That'll give you some good points. In the receiving side, Lockett, leading receiver with 94 yards, no touchdowns. And for Cincinnati, leading receiver was Jamar Chase with 80 yards on 6 catches. But Tyler Boyd, 1 touchdown, 38 yards, 7 receptions. And shout out to Andre Yoshivas, who had actually his first career NFL touchdown. I remember scouting him during the offseason this year, going into the draft. And after I was watching the combine, I said, wow, who is this kid? He's got really good hands and speed. His size is a little bit of a question, but who cares if you're from Princeton? You got some good, if you got good hands, you're meant to be here. And he had good route running ability, was sharp. I liked him a lot. And he ended up going to Cincinnati. I believe he was undrafted. And, well, I can confirm that now. I believe he was undrafted when he came into the league. Actually, no, he was drafted in the 6th round, and he's getting attention on the receiving core, which is great because he actually was playing pretty well. And I said he could be a sneaky guy to have on your team. He's not a starter. No, don't get me wrong. He's a bench piece, but he could definitely give you some yardage and some return ability, and he has done that, and he's been very good. So I'm happy for him. He's definitely living up to the expectations I had for him, so good for him. I'm very happy. In terms of defense yesterday, in terms of sacks, we'll say the 3 sacks recorded by Seattle was split up by 3 guys. Draymond Jones, Jaron Reed, and Boye Mafe. But leading tackler, Quandre Diggs. All 8 tackles, all solos. And then on the Cincinnati side, leading tackler was Logan Wilson with 11, 9 of them being solos, 1 of them being a sack, and the 2 that I didn't mention that were solos or whatever, or 2 of those 11 tackles were tackles for loss. And he also got a QB hit. So he was all over the field yesterday. Other guys recorded sacks yesterday. Sam Hubbard recorded 1, and so did Trey Hendrickson, as well as Cam Sample. So those 4 guys all recorded a sack yesterday. So Geno was not having time to throw. He was getting rocked all day. And it just leads to bad situations when you can't control it, you know? This is going to happen. This is totally normal. But Seattle yesterday, a lot of struggling back and forth. And if you go into the team stats once again, time of possession was in their favor. Time of possession was in Seattle's favor. But unfortunately, the turnovers were not. Cincinnati had 1 less turnover than them. And when you go down to the plays, completing the drives and everything, like I was saying, they were going back and forth with the drives. So Cincinnati in the beginning completed both their first 2 drives for touchdowns. And then they failed their other 2 in the first half. So they were 2 of 4. 2 of 5, 2 of 6, 2 of 7, 3 of 8, 3 of 9, 3 of 10, 3 of 10 for Cincinnati. For Seattle, it was a touchdown, so 1 of 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 2 and 5, 3 and 6, 3 and 7, 3 and 8, 3 and 9, 3 and 10. Both teams were 3 and 10 basically yesterday, and it's not necessarily a good thing. If they go even like that, that's a little weird, but I think it's also, when I say complete drive, it's like the amount of times you score. And it's a rarity where it's a rarity when you see a team be able to score like it would have to be something where, let's say Cincinnati was winning the game, won the game 21-16, right? But Seattle technically had scored on more drives. let's say they kicked a field goal on 3 drives, right? So they scored a touchdown on 1, so that's 7. But then they kicked 3 more field goals, right? That's 16 points. But Cincinnati had 21 points. Well, 4 drives were completed by Seattle. They were completing their drives, just weren't getting the touchdowns out of it. But for Cincinnati, they completed less drives, but they were getting the big points. They were focusing on getting the big points. Again, a field goal completes your drive, don't get me wrong. But you always want to get a touchdown. You want to do everything you can to score that. And Seattle just wasn't doing that yesterday. I mean, that's pretty much what hurt them. So them being even on those drives, everything was tilted in the scale of Seattle. Those interceptions come back to bite you. They always do. They affect the game bigger than people think. Mentally, it kicks you down. They were very lucky, though. The first interception happened in the third quarter. Nothing came of that. They ended up punting the ball. They didn't get to produce off it. However, that second interception that was thrown by Geno, which was in, I believe, the beginning of the fourth. Yeah. Early in the fourth quarter, he threw another interception, and that one resulted in a field goal. You take that field goal away, you're only down 1 point. You just need a field goal to win, and it's a much easier situation. But because it resulted in a field goal, Seattle would need a touchdown to win. And that ended up not coming about and happening. So, I mean, yesterday they got it down to about the Cincinnati 9 on 4th and 8. And they had a chance to win it. They had a chance. And they couldn't do it. But imagine they could have kicked a field goal there and won it. That's a real possibility. And they would have won the game. Just like that. And it didn't happen. If you take that interception away, it doesn't go that route. So again, turnovers play a big part in winning games and winning or losing. And they just had one extra one that resulted in a bad outcome for them. And I believe when Joe Burrow threw his interception, that one didn't result in points. When Burrow threw his interception, that was followed by an interception from Geno not too long after. But regardless, Seattle wins. It's another story of Geno Smith making mistakes. Offense struggling still without their offensive coordinator that they had last year. New offensive coordinator means new offensive system, and they still have growing pains. So Seattle figured it out, but this was just not a good week for them. Let's go to Indy. Indy's a big question here. Indy losing to Jacksonville yesterday, 37-20. Jacksonville's now 4-2. Indy at 3-3. So the Jaguars complete the season sweep of the Colts. The Colts were unable to take a win against Jacksonville this year. So now, Gardner Minshew had 329 yards passing yesterday, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Lawrence at under 200 passing, 2 touchdowns and interception. In terms of completions, similar. Minshew was 33 of 55 and Lawrence was 20 of 30. As you guys are probably going to expect me saying here, Jacksonville clearly finished more drives, and Minshew turned over the ball way more than Jacksonville did, and Jacksonville dominated time and possession. That's how you get the results you have here. Indy had 4 turnovers, Jacksonville had 1, and it was the 1 interception Lawrence threw. It wasn't a pretty one either. But on the ground, I think that's where my biggest questions reside. Minshew was struggling a lot with the interceptions, and that really hurt them. What shocked me most was the ground game. They only went to the ground so many times. They threw the ball 55 times, but they only ran it 17. They barely ran the ball. Zach Moss got 7 carries and had 21 yards. Jonathan Taylor had it 8 times and went 19 yards. And they did score a touchdown that belonged to Zach Moss. Go to receiving core. Michael Pittman was the leading receiver with 109 yards. No touchdown, though. The touchdown in the receiving group went to Josh Downs, who had 21 yards on the day yesterday. Another shout out to Kylan Granson, who had 67 yards of his own on 3 catches. So, good day for him. Lawrence yesterday, the 2 touchdowns were both scored by Travis Etienne. They were both rushing touchdowns. 18 carries, 55 yards. And it's just a good overall performance fantasy-wise for him. So if you had him on your team, you definitely ate well. But if you look at the receiving group, Christian Kirk had his own touchdown yesterday. 1 touchdown and 49 yards from 3 catches. And Bretton Strange also got involved in the action. 2 receptions for 27 yards and 1 touchdown. Calvin Ridley yesterday was the quiet one of the group, unfortunately, for my fantasy team. 4 catches for 30 yards. Taking a look at fumbles and whatever happened there. The fumble was by Gardner Minshew. That was the other turnover. Just a bad day for the Colts. Not doing well against this Jacksonville defense. They really made it hard for them. Let's look at their stat lines in terms of the defensive side. Sacks recorded by Samson Ebukam, DeForest Buckner, and Tyquan Lewis for Indy. So they got to Lawrence a few times. Leading tackler of the day was Zaire Franklin, who had 8 total tackles, 6 of them being solos. And on the Jacksonville side, the sacks leader was a split between Kayvon Chason, who I didn't think I was going to see this year, and Josh Allen. And you also saw half a sack, so split between Trayvon Walker and Roy Robertson Harris. So they both split with the half, so that means 1 sack total. And they have 3 as well. The leading tackler, who was all over the field yesterday, Oliokun. Foyesade Oliokun. 15 total tackles, 10 of them being solos. 1 of them is a tackle for loss and 2 passes deflected. He was all over the place yesterday, making plays left and right for the Jaguars. The interception by the Indianapolis Colts was recorded by Juju Brents. And on the other side for Jacksonville, there was 1 for Rayshawn Jenkins, 1 for Andre Sisco, and 1 for Darius Williams. Not a great day once again for Minshew. And it gets worse because if Anthony Richardson takes this surgery, he's done for the year, which means you're going to be watching Gardner Minshew throw the football for the Indianapolis Colts probably for the rest of the season. So, be prepared for that. Be prepared. I mean, they can still compete, but I don't see them, going to the playoff with Gardner. But Gardner could give them like 7-8 wins. Make them a 7-8 win team. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of questions to ask. A lot of football to go. Indy at 500. Not a bad place to be when I originally had you projected at only 3 wins for the season. Not bad. But again, everything is the same here in terms of what I said. Time, possession, all that stuff. That's all favored for the Jaguars. The Jaguars win that way. Carolina trying to avoid going to 0-6. Failed to do so yesterday because it's the Miami Dolphins. The Miamis are leading 5-1 here. The Panthers are 0-6 now. Miami doubled the points of Carolina yesterday. Carolina scored 21. They scored 42. Tua, monster day for him. In the air. 21-31, 262, 3 TDs, no interceptions. Just a great game for Tua Tagovailoa. And for Carolina, Bryce Young just not... he didn't have a terrible day, but he also didn't have the best day. 23-38, 217, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He did not turn over the ball, which is good for him. I'm very happy he didn't do that, and there was no fumbles. They played a clean game. They played a very clean game. Now, I will say, I believe that there was a turnover in favor of Carolina. No turnovers for Carolina. Miami had a turnover, so they won that game, and they won the time of possession, which is a little shocking. It was close, but they win it, which is actually surprising because I didn't expect Carolina to be that team, I expect Carolina to be the team that you'd watch and say, oh, okay, yeah, they're not going to have a turnover against the Dolphins, and they're going to have more time with the ball than the Dolphins. That's not something I thought of. But apparently that happened. Let's add in here that the Panthers, the 1 turnover that happened did not happen from Tua. Tua did not create the turnover that allowed the Panthers to get the turnover advantage. It was Mike White. Mike White came in to replace Tua because his game was over. His day was over. They put in Mike White for the game. Mike White threw an interception that ended up being returned for a touchdown. So it turned out to be a pick 6. Turned out to be a pick 6 for the Panthers. So that got them another touchdown on the board. And in terms of everything else here, Chuba Hubbard, 88 yards on the ground yesterday on 19 carries and a touchdown. Great performance for him in the absence of Miles Sanders. Raheem Mostert, no HA, no problem. Mostert, 17 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns of his own. Filling in for him was Salvon Ahmed, 6 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown of his own. In the receiving groups, Adam Thielen, another monster day, 115 yards in the air and 11 catches, 1 touchdown. And in Miami's side, Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, 163 yards, 1 touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 7 catches, 51 yards, 1 touchdown. Let's also add another touchdown in there to Raheem Mostert, who had 3 on the day, 3 of 17 in the air, with 1 touchdown off that. So receiving touchdown and 2 rushing touchdowns. Have yourself a day, Raheem Mostert. Carolina, another person to note who did really well. I can't really say anybody on the receiving side because after Thielen, everybody else was around 26 yards or less on the day. Defensive side. The defense, again, was the key to everything. Carolina didn't register a single sack on the Dolphins. That's kind of sad. But the Dolphins did record 4 sacks on Bryce Young. The leading sacker was Christian Wilkins with 2 on the day. You could also add Bradley Chubb in the mix with 1 of his own and Zach Seiler. But the leading tacklers, which we always like to note, David Long Jr., 11 totals, which includes 4 solos for Miami and a QB hit. On the Carolina side, 9 total tackles, 8 of them being solo with a tackle for loss and a pass deflected for C.J. Henderson. Little shocked to see C.J. here, the former 2020 first-round top 10 pick for Jacksonville. He actually had a great day yesterday for Carolina. Wow, very, very shocked by that. Troy Hill was the one who recorded that interception, returned it for a touchdown off Mike White. Again, it was too late in the game anyway. It was all in favor of Miami at that point. It was just like an insurance touchdown. It's like a sympathy thing. Can't blame the penalties on either team. Neither one of them really committed more than the other. Each one had 3. In fact, Miami had more penalty yards, even though they had the same amount of penalties. Miami had 1 turnover. Carolina had the ball longer. Rushing-wise, Dolphins were just better on the ground. They were better in the air. It's really the way to go. And the yards per play were in favor of the Dolphins, and the total plays were in favor of Carolina. The total yards were heavily in favor of Miami. I mean, that's just the way it was, and there's just no way around it. In fact, their first downs were still in favor of Miami. In terms of third down efficiency, Miami was still leading in that category too. Over 50%. So kind of interesting, honestly. Kind of interesting. I didn't think I'd see that. But this goes against the trend, but at the same time, I think, again, completing your drives is a big deal. You complete more of your drives, you win games. It's the way it is. Finish your drive, finish your drive, finish your drive. Focus on your drive now. Don't worry about the next one. Just finish this one. And that's it. I think Carolina really struggled against the Miami defense, and that just was all out there for everybody to see. And it came back to bite them. What's up, Armand? How we doing in the chat? Thank you. If you're watching this on YouTube, so thank you so much for checking in, man. The Panthers were absolutely terrible. They really were. Let's go to the next game involved in the therapy session here. The Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. Chicago, you had a feeling you were going to lose this game. You had to know. 1-5, you still haven't won at home this year. Vikings beat you 19-13 to record their second win of the year. But it doesn't feel like that's the major loss here. It feels like the major loss is losing Justin Fields. As much as I rag on the guy for not being an NFL quarterback and not being a big game changer in the league, it cannot be denied that he is the leader of this team and that without him the offense has no path of direction. Has no compass. There's no compass for him to figure out where to go. With Chicago, there's a lot of questions now. Tyson Bagent will likely take over for the next couple of weeks. There did an x-ray. He didn't break his hand, so Chicago survives and takes a deep breath. But he definitely got hurt. And it could be a muscle thing. It could be a possible muscle tear. And if that happens, that's on his throwing hand. So that means he wouldn't be able to grip the ball or hold the ball, which means he can't come back until that's entirely healed surgically. So that's something to watch. But overall, Chicago yesterday, Bagent was not horrific. But for a kid starting for his first time, he still somehow threw for more yardage and stuff than Justin Fields. You make that make sense. 10 of 14, 83, an interception, 1 sack. Statistically, it was better than Fields. 6 of 10, 58 yards, interception, 4 sacks. Kirk Cousins, a decent game from him. Obviously not his best, well under his best, but it was still a win regardless. Kirk Cousins, 21 of 31, 181, a touchdown, no interceptions, only sacked twice. Alexander Mattison, decent run game for him yesterday, 18 carries, 44 yards. However, the rest of the team didn't do too great rushing-wise. They finished with 46 yards on the ground. Chicago was all over the place on the ground, 162 yards total. 65 yards came from Deontay Foreman, filling in for Khalil Herbert, 15 carries for 65 yards, no touchdowns. Justin Fields, 8 carries of 46 yards. There was a touchdown scored by Tyson Bagent yesterday, though. He ran it in himself. 2 carries, 4 yards, and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, the leading receiver of the day was DJ Moore, 51 yards on 5 catches, no touchdowns. Hawkinson with 50 of his own to add there. KJ Osborne even had a decent day, 48 yards on 4 receptions. Addison gets his touchdown as a member of the Minnesota Vikings, 28 yards on 3 catches, and no receiving touchdowns for Chicago. Mooney, though, I will make note, 2 catches for 48 yards, so decent game for Darnell Mooney. One thing that really killed both of these teams were the fumbles. 2 fumbles yesterday by Kirk Cousins. He lost one of them. And Chicago's side, they also had 2 fumbles. They lost one as well. So, again, the turnovers were favoring the Vikings again. I mean, one lost fumble from Chicago, but 2 interceptions as well from Chicago. So that means they really comes back to what I've been saying. If you limit your turnovers, you dominate the time possession, and you finish your drives, more of them than your opponent, you win the game. Always. If you have all 3, you're guaranteed to win. The most important one of the 3 is completing your drives. Screw the turnovers. Complete your drives. Always make sure to do that. Always. And technically you count as a field goal as completing the drive like I've been saying, but you obviously want to finish with a touchdown. It always goes that way. Oh no, Armand. Oh no, why would you do that? Oh, yeah, Luke Getsy making bad decisions yesterday. But again, you could fault as many people as you want. You could fault Getsy. I'm fully behind that. I think he's not a great coordinator for Chicago. But at the same time, you did lose your quarterback. So I'm like impartial. It's a weird thing. I'm just not 100% sold. I'm not 100% sold. I'll say that. I'm not going to 100% blame him. I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit just because of the injury, but he definitely should have seen the ball more. DJ Moore, 5 of 51. 8 targets. He saw the ball a lot yesterday. He was targeted a lot of times, but just only 5 catches for 51. I would have loved to see a touchdown in there for him. That would have definitely helped out a lot. So nevertheless, Chicago continuing to go into free fall mode, trying to not hide the fact they're looking for a quarterback for next season. 100% aren't hiding it. Let's go into the one that shocked the most people for the San Francisco 49ers fans. I want to say I pity you, and I feel bad for you. But at the same time, you guys talk so much crap about being this year. And I had no reason to hate San Fran. I really didn't. I just like chaos. And the Cleveland Browns are the epitome of chaos. The defense wins games, and they did that yesterday. The Browns had more turnovers. The Browns had more time of possession. And in terms of finishing drives, and you get totals here, they completed more drives. So they had 2 of the 3 categories in winning this game. I keep saying, if you have a majority of these, you're probably going to win. And they completed more drives. They did it. It's actually kind of wild. San Fran only completed 3, and the Browns completed 5. I mean, of course, it's a lot of field goals in there, but at the same time, it's still, you're completing the drives. It's the point. Now, offensively, this is what I want to go through. Brock Purdy looked like somebody completely different yesterday on that field. Under 50% completions. Not good. 125 yards, a touchdown, interception, sacked 3 times. Worst game probably of his career. P.J. Walker also didn't have a good game. 18 of 34, but he completed more of his passes. 192 yards, more yardage. 2 interceptions, not good. Still makes Purdy look better, but no touchdowns either through the air. 2 interceptions, though. Walker turned over the ball way more. But in terms of the ground game, too, Cleveland's rushing game was way better as well. I want to make sure that's communicated here. Jerome Ford, 84 yards on 17 carries. Kareem Hunt had a touchdown of his own, 47 yards on the ground on 12 carries. Again, good performance from the Cleveland ground game, despite the fact they don't have Nick Chubb for the year. San Francisco definitely took a hit not having McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel. Deebo getting hurt definitely costing my fantasy, but that's not important. The important thing is making sure that Deebo's okay. Christian McCaffrey, 11 carries and 43 yards in the time he was on the field. Mason, who filled in for him, 5 carries, 27 yards, 1 touchdown. In the receiving group, the leading receiver yesterday was Brandon Ayuk with 76 yards and 4 catches. Amari Cooper was the leading receiver overall for the day. 108 yards on 4 catches, no touchdowns. There was a fumble by Purdy and Cooper. Both of them were recovered by their team, so it doesn't count against them in terms of like fumble loss as a turnover because they did recover. Now we go to the defensive side here. Let's look at the sacks, see who was really leading the sacks for the day here. Randy Gregory and Nick Bosa recording sacks for San Fran. So Randy Gregory gets his first sack as a member of the 49ers after leaving the Broncos in a trade. For Cleveland, 3 sacks yesterday. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah got one of them. You also have a team sack as it's registered, so it's like a collective sack. And Sione Takitaki got the other one. So really good games from them. But the leading tacklers, Oren Burks, 8 total for 4 of them being solo. Rodney McLeod for Cleveland was the leading tackler for their side. 8 totals, 7 of them being solo, including a tackle for loss. So again, great overall performance yesterday from the Browns. They surprised me. If the kicker makes that kick, we're not talking about that. But this is what happens. I mean it. You know? This is what I mean. We can't sit here and act like the Browns didn't play a good game. Because they did. Despite the fact that they had no quarterback play, and it wasn't good quarterback play, they were still able to find a way to win. Defensively, they did their job. Full credit to Cleveland. They did a good job. I mean it. They did a good job. Hey, Walter, in the chat, what's going on, my man? How we doing today? I know you're a Philly guy, so I'm sure you're not happy about the way the Eagles performed at all. So we're going to see how, if you need a therapy session, I'm here. I've got my therapist glasses ready to go to put out any kind of problems, you know? Talk it out. We'll go over it, man. Yeah, I mean, the Cleveland side, it's just not... The Cleveland did a good job. That's the only way I could put it. They were lucky they were in Cleveland and not San Fran. Because if they were in San Fran, I think San Fran would have won the game. But Cleveland being home had the advantage. The crowd definitely played an effect in that. And the Browns are now over 500 and just won a game with their third-string quarterback without Deshaun Watson and then not using DTR, who they thought would be a good backup. So now here we are in this weird scenario where the Browns are somehow still a good team and competitive. The Ravens may have won yesterday and beat the Titans, but the Browns are half a game out from the AFC North top spot of the division. How wild is that? And the Bengals are still a game back as well. They're not far back either. It's actually very fascinating. That AFC North is wide open. We got a few more games to go. We have 5 more to go here. Let's go to New Orleans and check out what happened between them and Houston yesterday. That was a little bit of an ugly one right here. New Orleans had 2 turnovers. Houston had 1. New Orleans clearly had more time with the ball and had a lot of yardage. But yet Houston won the game. And this is fascinating. It goes back to what I said. Everything most of the time it comes down to finishing your drives. And Houston was doing that. Houston scored 2 touchdowns and had a field goal. 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. They were in a really good spot overall. It's just a really good performance in terms of finishing drives. The Saints finished 3 of their drives, but if they would have scored 3 touchdowns, they could have won. And this would have completely nullified the point, but they didn't. They scored a touchdown and kicked 2 field goals. That's it. And that's all they could do. And it's not like Derek Carr had a terrible game. He really didn't. 32 of 50, 353, a touchdown interception. That's not a bad game. And for CJ Stroud, you're talking 13 of 27, 199, 2 touchdowns, interception. Which the interception that he threw ended up being popped and fumbled and recovered by Houston. So, even his fumbles were getting lucky with him. Now, Houston did win this game, and they're now at 500 and still somehow close and competitive with Indianapolis and the Jaguars. They're only a game out from the Jaguars in the division. I'm telling you, the Houston Texans are the team to watch in that division. CJ Stroud looking like the first QB to actually be a successful story from the Ohio State University. Alvin Kamara leading rusher yesterday for New Orleans and for the game. 68 yards on the ground, 19 carries. For Houston, their leading rusher was Devin Singletary, shockingly. 58 yards on 12 carries. Of course, it's the week I drop him that he does and goes off. I'm not even going to go into it. New Orleans, receiving-wise, top receiver of the day was Chris Olave, 96 yards on 7 catches. But the touchdown, the lone one, was scored by Rashid Shaheed. 2 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Houston side, leading receiver was Nico Collins with 80 yards on 4 catches. Really starting to prove himself as a real wide receiver one. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. But the 2 touchdowns scored by the receiving group. Dalton Schultz getting involved in the action once again. 4 catches, 61 yards, and a TD. Robert Woods, a catch for 6 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz definitely helped me out in fantasy yesterday as well. So if you don't have Dalton Schultz, he's still available in free agency, you better get him. You better get him ASAP. Because CJ Stroud's starting to like him and he's throwing the ball to him more. So you better watch that. And there was also a turnover from New Orleans yesterday in terms of a fumble. There was a fumble lost by Zach Bond. That was from the interception that happened by Houston. CJ Stroud threw the interception. Bond fumbled it. Boom. It's out. And Houston got it back. So the fumble even was just good in their favor. Defensively, the people to note here, both teams had 2 sacks yesterday for Saints. Demario Davis and Carl Granderson recorded the sacks. For Houston, it was Sheldon Rankins, and a half sack split up between Jonathan Greenard and Malik Collins. The leading tacklers, Blake Cashman, big game for him yesterday. 15 total tackles, 9 of them being solos. 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes deflected, and a QB hit. And for New Orleans, Demario Davis was the top defender of the day. 7 total tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack. 2 tackles for loss, a pass deflected, and 2 QB hits. Just nothing but a strong performance here, man. Such a strong performance, man. Thanks, Walter. Appreciate your love in the chat, man. Laughing so hard. Thanks. I'm also a general sports and athleticism fan, so hearing other stuff rocks too. Keep it up. Thanks, man. I appreciate it so much. I'm telling you, it's this was really a pretty wild game. It was good. PJ Walker over Watson. Armand, I'm not even kidding, man. I'm really shocked at how PJ played. Again, they were still in the game somehow, and he was managing it well. I just didn't like the fact of the 2 interceptions. I'm sure he wants those back. You could always improve on those. But the bigger story here is New Orleans is 3-3 and still alive in the division. So is the Houston Texans at 3-3. Because Tampa Bay losing is what opened the door for them. So we're going to keep going with that. And we're going to go take a look at the Detroit Brock score, which I've been dreading for a while. Not a good game yesterday from Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers offense. And I mean that very seriously. Clearly, the Lions completed more drives, 4 compared to the Bucs 2. Bucs had more turnovers. Lions had the ball more, had more yardage. Everything was tilted in the favor of the Lions. Now, when I appeared yesterday on Boys in the Big Apple podcast doing their work yesterday, if you guys haven't followed them, go check them out on YouTube. They really are a great podcast, great show, great group of guys there. If you guys don't watch their content, you're a New York sports fan, you guys are missing out. One of the best on YouTube by far. The Lions, yesterday we did picks for the Lions-Bucks game, and I picked the Lions to win, despite the fact I'm a Bucks fan. Why? Because I'm not an optimist with my team. I'm a cautious realist. And my team knows how to let me down. And they did that yesterday. The Creamsicles have a history of losing, and the history continued. So Detroit won this game 20-6. Jared Goff, 30 of 44, 353, 2 TDs, no picks. Sacked 3 times, though. So at least they got sacks, I guess. Baker Mayfield, 19 of 37, 206, no touchdowns and interception, only sacked once. Not a good game from him, probably his worst of the year. Probably his worst performance of the year. It felt like the Eagles all over again. On the ground, Detroit lost David Montgomery, but the Bucs were able to hold him down rushing-wise, only allowed 40 yards the whole game. 6 carries for Montgomery, 14 yards. Craig Reynolds had to take over for him, 10 carries for 15 yards, no touchdowns. So overall, rough game for Detroit on the ground. For Tampa, very much a similar story. 46 yards on the ground. Rashad White leading the way, 7 carries for 26. No touchdowns. Receiving-wise, the top receiver of the day was clearly Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I had expected. 124 yards, 12 catches, and a touchdown. Jameson Williams got in the action too. 2 catches for 53 and a touchdown. That was his first touchdown of his NFL career, despite the fact he's in his second year in the league. Interestingly enough. Tampa Bay side, Chris Godwin, 6 catches for 77. Mike Evans, 4 for 49. Trey Palmer, 2 for 47. So those 3 guys really were the group for Tampa Bay. But it came more down to one thing for Tampa as I go to pull up their highlights, because this is a big thing I have to lay out. Since this is my team, I study a lot of their film. and I'm going to show you guys what I saw. There were a lot of opportunities yesterday where Tampa could have won the game and had opportunities to score touchdowns, and it just wasn't working in their favor because they were making bad plays or there were drop passes and things were working against them. So I'll show you guys here on OBS exactly what I mean. I mean here on YouTube and Twitch. I'm pulling up a YouTube clip. I can't put up for too long because I'm going to get flagged and copyrighted, so we'll see. So here's the clip here. Here's one example you're about to see right now with Baker Mayfield looking to Mike Evans. He's going to try to throw. He throws across to Evans. Evans can't reel that in. He drops that. Bad throw for the Bucs, already in a bad situation. Bad situation already. You do not want that if you're a Bucs fan. You don't like that. Mike Evans having some drops is not favorable for your team. I mean, on top of that, I think I could also add in that there were some times where there were some overthrown passes from Baker that could have led straight to touchdowns, and he was missing on the throws. And that opened some bad, it just led to some bad things for Tampa at that point. They were really struggling, and you can't expect to win when you keep overthrowing your receivers on deep throws. Yeah, and you could tell me otherwise, but it's the truth. You can't overthrow your guy. I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, you come back, you reel back, you throw. Yeah, it's all about the touch. You got to have the touch in order to really be successful. Which sounds weird, but I mean that in like the most serious way. You have to have a certain touch with the football for it to work, if you guys get what I mean. Like, you come back like this and you're going to let it fly. You got to have some kind of control on it so that it can drop in better. Maybe a different angle, maybe a different type of release, something different when you put what you put on the ball. That's the difference. And Baker didn't have that yesterday. He had Palmer on multiple occasions downfield, broken away because he's a speedster. He had the defenders beat, and he overthrew him a couple times. If he doesn't overthrow him, Palmer has 2 touchdowns. They wouldn't have touched him. Palmer would have 2 touchdowns. This be a game that's tied going into possibly overtime, or would have put a lot of pressure on Detroit to do more, and Tampa could have stood him up because the defense was doing a great job yesterday. They just couldn't get off the field. And it comes again back to the offense stalling. This was a bad offensive game for Tampa. They need to do better. They got a lot to improve on. That's how I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to go into the defensive side of anything. It's just the truth. That's the way it was. Tampa has a lot of work to do. If they want to come back and rebound well, this is the way to do it. You got to go into next week's game prepared for a fight. The advantage they have, if I'm correct, is that they have an easy game next week. Yes, next week they're playing their second divisional game of the year. The Falcons, for the first time, 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox in Tampa. Again, this is a game that you can win. You want to rebound and prove that you're still the top dog in the South. This is what you got to do. You got to beat them. Because if you don't beat the Falcons, you're definitely losing the next week. Because after that, you've got the Bills on Thursday Night Football. The Bills on Thursday Night Football is not something you want to be involved in. Because that will be a murder in Buffalo. So let's be smart about it and focus on getting this win. You get this next win, you're going to be 4-2. You could afford a loss to the Bills, and then you've got an easier slate. You got the Texans, and you got the Titans right after. You can beat both of those teams. So you have potential to go 3-1 here and be at 6-3 in a really good position going into a harder part of the schedule. Because next up, you got the Niners, November 19th. So you need to be prepared for everything. If you're Tampa, you got to start winning. Don't get into this losing pattern. Because you've dropped 2 of your last 3 now. Eagles, Lions, you've lost. You beat the Saints. So something's got to be straightened out here. That's it. As a Tampa Bay fan, we got a lot of work to do. I told you guys going this year, I'm not optimistic of my team. I was cautious with them. They've been good. I can't complain, but they're not a team that goes to the Super Bowl. They just aren't. But they have shown a lot of good things. I just need to see more improvement on their end. That's it. I need to see more improvement. I need to see the offense really sustain drives, be able to go out there and finish things off. Make those completions. You make those completions, you're beating the Lions. If you make the 3 big deep ball completions, you win the game. And they weren't doing it. So it's an accuracy thing. They got to build a good rhythm and fine-tune that so that they can complete those type of passes for big plays and win games. Because big plays win games. It really does happen that way. So that's my opinion with Tampa. Let's go to New England and Las Vegas now. I'm going to sum this up in one statement. Bill Belichick, your time has come, buddy. It's time to go home. Go be a family man. Go be a grandfather. Those grandkids need a grandfather. I know you're chasing after history, but it's time to go. And I mean that with all due respect. You have not won a game at home this year, when you used to be known as a team with home field advantage that was very hard to beat. You just dropped to the Las Vegas Raiders. In fact, let me correct that statement. You didn't just drop to the Las Vegas Raiders. You dropped to Brian Hoyer and the Las Vegas Raiders. I know the stats show that Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball more and all his stats there, but don't forget, Jimmy got hurt. Jimmy got hurt and Hoyer had to take over. Okay, Jimmy on the day, 14 of 22, 162, a touchdown interception. Hoyer had to come in from 6 of 10, 102. He was leading drives down the field. Josh Jacobs was almost at 100 yards yesterday. He hasn't been good all year. Ramondre Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott, count your days, man. You guys combined for 80 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, the touchdowns are great. Don't get me wrong. But Mac Jones, man, I can't hate what he did yesterday. He didn't have a horrific game, but the interception, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. That was a terrible interception he threw. Kendrick Bourne, 10 of 89. Michael Mayer, leading receiver for Las Vegas, 75 yards on 5 catches. Jacoby Myers, 5 of 61, a 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams only had 29 yards in the air. So, just a quick summary of that. But overall, the Patriots' offense has completely disappeared. It has been nowhere to be found. You've now opened the door for the Raiders to be competitive. 260 yards total. The Raiders were at 348. You had the same amount of turnovers. You let the Raiders have the ball more than you, and they dominated you. At the end of I got to get to the end of the game. This is where we got to get to. I'm going to pull up the last stats from the end of that game. I'm going to pull up the clip. Because watching the end of that game took 10 years off my life. And I'm not even a Patriot fan. But I'm going to show you guys what I mean. Okay? So, you're at 3rd and 15 now, right? Mac Jones, situationally, I've got a question for you. And we're going to have this debate right here. I'm going to ask you guys on stream too to answer this for me. Okay? This here is the 3rd and 15 scenario. 1:52 on the clock. 3rd and 15, you're in your own end zone. What is the one thing that you can't do as a team? As the quarterback, what is the one thing you cannot do in this scenario? I'm sure I don't even have to ask you guys. I'm sure you already know the answer to this. Because it's a pretty obvious answer. The answer? Don't take a sack. Don't take a sack. Because you have nowhere to go. You can't take a sack. So let's see what happened here. Tony Romo, take it away. Took a sack. Ended the game. A 2-point game becomes a 4-point game. A minute 47 on the clock. Your game's over. You just gave the ball back to the Raiders as well. Because since it's a safety, that means the Patriots don't get the ball back. And they have no timeouts. You see this man right here rushing at you. Right? You don't even see him. You're not watching him. What is this awareness from this quarterback? He's got no pocket presence. Look at this. Comes right off the edge. It's like, boom. He realizes it. He's getting swarmed by him and getting trapped by 91. Are you kidding me? Look, the pressure comes in. The immediate instinct is, you're sitting back here. You see him coming this way. You see a bull rush coming this way. You see 51 trying to work inside, but he's going to block him into here to make sure that he doesn't get touched. Jones is looking. He's standing in the pocket. How do you stand like that knowing the pressure's coming? This man fell over his own legs. Just roll in. Roll to the right. Move, bro. Move. He sheds the block. He waited too long. If he doesn't wait, watch. If he goes right here, off that back foot, right here. If he's not looking downfield, he can cut right back up this way. This guy's not getting in. He's not getting in. Instead, he squeezes right through because he didn't have enough time. And he had enough time, if he was fast enough, to cut back behind here, behind his offensive lineman. It throws him off, helps him readjust. And this guy, if he tries to come out and go after him, he's already rolling to the right and he's got more time to throw. But instead of that, Mac Jones is going to be immobile like he always is. That's how I feel about that. That's how I feel. He's going to be immobile like always and hold them down. What they need to do is put Malik Cunningham in next week. That's what they have to do. Malik Cunningham, be prepared. You're going to start next week. You're going to start. I feel like that's the only solution to solving this. You need a mobile quarterback. Mac Jones is not mobile. He's a pocket passer in a league that doesn't need pocket passers anymore. Pocket passers don't survive in this league. It's over for them. Can't convince me of one that will. Now we got to go to the next game. Now that I've calmed myself down. I'm going to end up... You guys do know at one point I'm probably going to have to film this coach video. I really don't want to. And this time I might do it like a therapy session like we're doing today. Where they're sitting down in a chair like this, like... But it was the Browns. It was the Browns. Like, I got to figure it out. I got to figure something out. Because the content I got to do for the YouTube channel is going to be amazing. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you haven't subbed yet, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's going to go a long way in helping us create more content down the line if you guys are watching for the first time. So please and thank you. And if you're seeing this on Twitch for the first time, please feel free to give us a follow on the channel. It really goes a long way in helping us grow here on Twitch and get more exposure in the sports community. So please, if you guys don't mind, thank you so much. It goes a long way. We really appreciate it. We continue now on to the next one. We have a few more games to go over real quick. 3 more specifically. Arizona and the Rams. The Cardinals and the Rams here. 26-9 is the Cardinals and Rams score yesterday. I'm just happy. I'm sure the Cardinals just showed up. They don't really care anymore. They're really beat up. They're 1-5. People are been given the benefit of the doubt because they're staying close in games. Can't really give them the benefit of the doubt here. Josh Dobbs, 21-41, 235, no TDs and an interception. Matthew Stafford, 15-24, 226, a touchdown, no picks. Somehow sacked more times. Arizona on the ground, Josh Dobbs was the leading rusher at 47 yards. If you were a fantasy person, you picked Amari DiMercado to be the new running back. I feel so bad for you. 2 for 11 yesterday. And on the LA side, complete domination from Kyren Williams. 20 carries, 158 yards, and a touchdown. But if you want to continue on that complete domination trend, Cooper Kupp, 7 catches, 148 yards, a touchdown. Great game for him. Puka Nacua actually did not record more than 30 yards receiving. A bit of a shocker there. 4 catches for 26 yards, no touchdowns. So he really he didn't have his normal week, which is kind of shocking. Fumble-wise, there was 1 fumble in the game by Los Angeles. Austin Trammell was the one who lost it. And for Arizona, Dobbs fumbled and lost it. Defensively, if we go through the sacks real quick, Kaiser White, 1 sack. Victor Dimukeje had 1 as well, and Kevin Strong. Top defender of the day was Kaiser White for Arizona. 8 total tackles, 5 of them being solo. The sack, tackle for loss, and QB hit. On the LA side for sacks, 2 guys recorded them. Byron Young records a sack, and Jonah Williams did 2. Now, in terms of everybody else here, the leading tackler was Ernest Jones. 10 totals for 7, but 7 of them being solo. Aaron Donald still continuing to have a very quiet season. 5 total tackles, 3 solos here. All of them were tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. So again, continuing to have a quiet season as Aaron Donald once again. I'm telling you, I'm getting more and more of a vibe that this may be his last year here with the Rams. He may retire. I'm getting more of that feel. But overall, again, the Cardinals just weren't that team. They're just not a good team. And they know it too. They know they're not a good team. They really do know. And they're just going with it. They're just going with it. They're just coasting. That's it. You can't deny. Nobody's hating on the team because they know they're not good. But there is a team we can hate on because they are really good and they lost in embarrassing fashion yesterday. How about those Philadelphia Eagles? 5-1 now. 5-1. There are no more unbeatens in the NFL. The 72 Dolphins record continues to stay alive for another year. The Eagles losing to the Jets 20-14. You lost to the Jets. I want to process that. You lost to the Jets. They beat the Broncos last week, sure. They beat the Buffaloes week 1, sure. But this week? This week? What's scarier is Zach Wilson, by the definition of the term stats, was better than Jalen Hurts, even though I feel he wasn't better. Hurts, 20-45, 280, touchdown, 3 interceptions, sacked twice. Zach Wilson was sacked 5 times yesterday, 19-33, 186. No touchdowns, no interceptions. But his passer rating was higher. His passer rating was higher. It's so weird. It's so weird. But Jalen Hurts' 3 interceptions came back to bite them. It ended up helping the Jets win this game. That is the problem. The turnovers cost you games, and I've said that since day one. Jets didn't turn over the ball once yesterday, which is why the offense survived the way it did. 4 turnovers total from the Eagles yesterday. They had the time of possession on the Jets. Great. But they lost the turnover battle. And in terms of completing their drives, the Jets completed more drives yesterday than the Eagles did. The Eagles had 2 completed drives for touchdowns. They didn't complete a single one after the second quarter. Isn't that just crazy to think about? I mean, I want to see how many points they got off turnovers. I'm going to take a look right now. So the first interception by the Eagles didn't result in plays. It ended in downs. No points off of it. The second interception resulted in a punt. The third interception resulted in a touchdown. The third interception put the game away. The third interception is why the Eagles lost. Quite literally, it is the reason. Because right after that, they had it in good territory. Breece Hall just ran it in, and boom, they scored. 2-point conversion to Randall Cobb is good, and they won. The defense did their job and held Jalen Hurts down. Overall, statistically, though, Jalen Hurts, leading rusher, what really was the key to the game that helped the Jets win this was because they silenced DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift had no answers for anything yesterday. He couldn't get the ball going on the ground. And it helped the Jets win. Because if they would have got DeAndre Swift going, the Eagles would have won this game by far. Because DeAndre Swift was one of the top rushers this year, running backs in the league. And him going quiet against New York speaks to how good the Jets' defense is. It really is good. And the fact that they didn't have any of their starting DBs yesterday in their corner spots, and they had to call up guys from the practice squad to be here, that's even more remarkable. Honestly. Sure, A.J. Brown had 131 receiving. That's great. Great. But they didn't win. DeAndre Swift, 10 carries, 18 yards. And he was a better receiver than anything else. 8 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. I mean, what else do you want me to say? And for New York, the top receiver, as expected, is Garrett Wilson. 8 catches, 90 yards, no touchdowns. And on the defensive side, since we're going to talk about the sacks and everything, the 5 sacks from the Eagles were recorded by these gentlemen. The leading sacker was Hassan Reddick, 2.5 sacks, so he was technically the defensive player of the game. Milton Williams had half a sack, Jordan Davis half a sack, Brandon Graham half a sack, and Josh Sweat had a full sack. On the Jets side, the 2 sacks were recorded by Bryce Huff and Quentin Jefferson. Huff had 1.5 sacks that day. Quincy Williams was the leading defender, 12 total tackles, 9 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflected. And in terms of the interceptions, they were by Tony Adams, Quentin Williams, and Bryce Hall. Once again, another really, really tough game for the Eagles. And we had to know eventually the Eagles' fall was coming. I thought the Rams would put them down last week and put them in, in their place, and it didn't happen that way. And I'm happy to see that the Eagles finally got a reality check. They needed that because Eagles fans have been talking so much smack, like nonstop, about how good their team is and how they're going to go to the Super Bowl. That's great. It's great that you're optimistic. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I still think it's San Fran's game. As long as their whole team stays healthy, San Fran's going to the Super Bowl. If they stay healthy, they're going. Okay, Armand has some updates for us. Let's keep reading here. Zap's going to get the nod over Malik. I don't know. I think it's a total Bill thing to make Zap do it instead of Malik. Because Zap's not mobile either. It's the same situation. It's another pocket quarterback. It won't help them. They need a guy who's mobile. Malik is mobile. But we don't know if they're going to do that. Malik is like, how to put it? I don't like doing comparisons like this, but I think he's a lesser version of Lamar. A lesser. Because he came from Louisville. So he's basically in the Lamar blueprint, but he's not Lamar. You need something to keep the offense alive. Bailey doesn't give the spark. Mac doesn't give the spark. They need somebody like Malik to take over and give them the spark. According to Rap Sheet, Kyron Williams could miss time with an ankle injury. Yes, I did hear that. That's not good though. If they lose Kyron Williams, their offense is going to take a bigger hit. It's going to basically say, hey, maybe you shouldn't have traded Cam Akers, who's not being used by the Vikings. Yeah, it was definitely a big win for the Jets. I was wrong about them too. I think everybody was wrong. I was going to work yesterday, I was on the trains and I was watching how many Eagles fans were going to the game. I'm telling you, it was like 10-1 in terms of how many Jets to Eagles jerseys I would see. 10 Eagles jerseys to 1 Jets jersey. 10-1 ratio. That's what I was seeing. And yet the Eagles had to watch their team get beat by the Jets. It's poetic justice. I love it. But the cooler part about this is that the Jets are 3-3, which means they're not out of the division yet. The division, they're only 2 games out. And they're not the last place in the division. That's an important thing to remember. They're not out of it. If I'm correct, the Bills have lost 2 games up to this point too. I think they've lost 2. So they're not far behind Buffalo. They've got a chance. Yeah, Buffalo's lost 2. The Jets have lost 3. The Dolphins have lost 1. The Dolphins can easily lose more games. It depends on who they play, but they can lose more games. It's definitely possible. And Buffalo's already beaten them once, so it's very doable. But this will lead us to the final game to go over here. It's the Jets and the Giants. I mean, the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. If we talk about what happened with the Giants yesterday, we got to bring up some bad plays that happened that cost them. And I'm going to try to find the highlights real quick while we talk about this. But can I give credit real quick to Tyrod Taylor filling in and making it a close game? I mean, he had himself a decent game. Again, not enough where you're like, oh my gosh, he's this great player. No, it's not like that. He was serviceable. He did the job well. He kept the offense moving a little bit at a time, and it wasn't anything like you could say, oh my gosh, they were terrible. No. It wasn't the case. They were actually a somewhat decent team yesterday. The problem was the defense was doing all the work, and the offense was still stalling. And the protection was not the worst. I mean, if I'm correct, I think Tyrod got sacked like 4 times yesterday. 3 times. He got sacked 3, so the protection actually wasn't horrific. The pursuit of Allen was very bad. That was very bad. But I'm going to get the play right now to see where it was. I think there was one at halftime, like right before. Yep, I found it. We're going to pull up a couple times where I was very confused by the Giants and the play calling by Dable and Taylor. What really sank the game. What really sank the game for these teams is right here. This is what cost the Giants the game. Multiple occasions. This one, I'm going to show you the end of the game. This is at right before halftime. The Giants on 1st and goal here you're watching, right? 1st and goal. 6-0 lead. You're on 1st and goal at the 1. You have an opportunity to punch it in and take a big lead going into halftime, which will give you ammunition over the Bills, who could easily just drop 14 on you in 2 minutes at any point. So, in this decision, do you run it with Barkley here and punch him into the left or do some kind of play here? Do you go with an RPO option where you could try to run it? You could try to see if a run works. If it doesn't work, you can flip it to a pass and run a play action and roll him out to the right for a quick completion into the end zone. Do you QB sneak it? Or do you just throw it in general and just spread the guys out? What's the decision? Before we decide what the decision should be, let's see what the Giants did. They handed it off down the middle to Barkley, who just got stuffed. Now, keep in mind, there are no timeouts. The clock is now running, and they're trying to get set. And I want to call a delay on the Bills here. I would throw a flag for a delay, but they couldn't get off in time. It ended up being the end of the half right there. Now, here's my issue with this. When you look at the formation they were running, I'm going to try to rewind it back to get the formation. They were loading the box up prepared. They knew he was going to punch the middle. So you have the safety prepared to punch down the right gap here. And you got this guy ready to punch down the middle to block that off. And you've got support here from 47. So why in the world would Barkley take the snap, right? And decide, I'm going to cut to the right. When this guy's completely unblocked, this guy completely leaves him unblocked and runs up here. So this way, Barkley now, this guy's an open lane to take out Barkley. And that's exactly what happens. He initiates with Barkley. Waller went upfield and missed the guy. Here, 25 shaked off the block that was coming. Comes in. They collide on him coming around the blocker here. And boom, he's down. And now he doesn't get in the end zone. Not a good play call. Not a good play call. A pass play would have been the decision here. If you fake the handoff and you do a delayed block where Tyrod, who has the mobility to extend a drive, if you let him drop back and let Saquon roll out, you can go ahead, lob it out, boom, problem solved. Am I wrong or am I wrong? I think that would have been the perfect solution here. Tyrod drops back, fakes the handoff to Barkley. Barkley does a delay, comes back out, rolling to the right. Boom, you drop it in a little screen drop. You make them chase him, and Saquon, with his strength and stiff arm ability, can get by them and get in the end zone for the touchdown. And that's it. It's a 12-0 game. Going to be 13-0. You're at the advantage. That's my first criticism. Let's go to the end of the game. We're at the end of the game here. It's 1st and goal. You already see the outcome here with Waller. I'm going to try to set this to a better one right here. Now, there was definitely a holding that they got away with. But we're going to watch this. So this is the play that happens. Time expires on this play. They're throwing it to the end zone. Okay, this is where it is. They're inside the 10 now. You got one last throw into the end zone here with 2 seconds left. He's looking. He's going to go to Waller. Feed it to Waller. He's getting held the entire time by the linebacker there. And that gives an automatic first down at the 1. As you're going to see right here, Bernard 100% was holding his jersey. I mean, that's a harder call to call holding on. But notice the white gloves to get away with the holding. Drops it up top here. No call was made. I want you guys to rewatch this. Throws it up. Johnson's got him hooked right here. I just paused the video briefly right here. He's holding him. 100% holding him. And Waller can't get up to get the elevation. So it's a holding. No penalty thrown. No flag. Giants lose on the last play of the game. And they're going to show it one more time. Watch Johnson. Watch number 7. Right there. Clear as day. This catch right here. How do you miss that? How do you miss that as a ref? You're on the other side. You don't see the pulling. You can't see his shoulder pads. Come on. I'll say that. But I also will say, and I'm going to make sure it's known here because, I'm not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not giving any excuses here. I mean, I'm not giving anybody excuses here. I won't make an excuse for a team. I've never been a person to excuse the actions of a team because of a ref. Because if you played well enough, we wouldn't be in the situation where we're relying on a ref. That's how I've always seen it. Is there something wrong with thinking that way? I would love to know from you guys here in the chat. Is there something wrong with thinking that way? That you can argue about the refs being bad all day. But if you would have played a better game, you wouldn't have had to worry about the refs. I've always looked at it that way. You could blame a ref all you want. The call has been made. It's been set in stone. All you can look back at this game and say is, how could I have avoided this scenario by playing better? Where could we have been better where we wouldn't have to rely on a call by a ref to win? And that's what Dable and the rest of the staff have to look back at and decide. Okay. Armand saying, the videos I've seen of kids, Eagles fans crying have made my day. Yeah, I listen. They're spoiled. They're spoiled to see a team win. That's it. According to Dable, Tyrod audibled a run. So he audibled and called a run on that play. I don't agree with it. Then it's on Tyrod. It's not on Dable. Dable did the right thing. He told his quarterback, okay, you decide then. You're the veteran. You know best. You decide what we need in this position because you're seeing it from the bird's eye view. And the answer was, maybe we should run it. I didn't think the running was the right option. I think he made the wrong decision. I think a play action would have been great. A delayed rollout to the right. Easy end zone. At least that's how I saw it. And even if a DB would have followed him, you throw that thing hard enough, you get a little mobile, you can bait the DB away from him, and boom, now you got an opening to get Saquon. That's the beauty of having a quarterback like Tyrod. He can run and use that to your advantage. A-Bomb via Tom Pelissero and Mike Garfolo. Frank Reich informed players today he's decided to hand over play calling duties to Thomas Brown. He didn't do that from the beginning? I never support a coach that does that. I'm sorry. If you're going to bring in an OC, you got to let him call the plays. So, Tom Brown hopefully does a better job than Reich has, because if this is Reich calling the plays, now I understand why the Colts let him go. But that's it right now for the NFL Week 6 recap. The summary, again, biggest takeaways from this. The Jets are way better than we thought. The Patriots are going to probably part ways with Bill Belichick. I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again. There's no chance Bill Belichick comes back after this season. I don't see it. He's probably going to retire. What else can we throw in here? San Fran is nothing without Debo and CMC. The Miami's for real. We'll add in as well to this thought that the AFC North might be the most competitive division in football. Not because they're good, just because they're just going to be really competitive overall. That's it. They're just going to be really competitive. But that's going to wrap up the football topic. If anybody would like to call into the show to talk about some stuff here involving what's happening with if you have any questions with NFL guys, the call-in is open. If you're watching this on Twitch, we have a plug-in called Payphone that you guys can call into the show and we can talk about it and argue some sports and answer some questions. So, as for YouTube, I'm still trying to figure out how I can get you guys interacted in this. It's a little tough, but I'm working on some details to kind of make that possible and doable. So I'm working on the little details there. I could use my software I use to bring in my guests when I do my guest interviews. But for right now, I'm thinking the best thing we could do is just stick with this. So for right now, if you're on Twitch, you're going to be the only ones that can do the call-in. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to work on something to get you guys the access to make a call into the show. But right now, we don't have any calls coming in, so we're going to leave that line open. But we're going to move into baseball now and talk about what happened last night with the Rangers. Because I was definitely not prepared for that. I was not prepared for what the Rangers did. Again, I mean this very seriously. I respect the Rangers. And I respect the success of the Astros and their history. As a Yankee fan, it's hard to say that, but I mean it. I respect them. Because they are now becoming what the Yankees have always wanted to be, or what they used to be, which is consistent and successful. They know how to build an operation, and they know how to change things when things aren't going the right direction. So I can't disagree with anything they do. Outside of, the banging noises you hear every now and then. But first game of the ALCS yesterday, the Rangers took on the Astros. Let me go ahead and pull that up so we can do a full breakdown of the game, because this should be very fun to talk about. I believe this is the account for I'm going to use the MLB account for this. So we're going to use the MLB highlights. We're going to go off the mound stuff. So we're going to pull it up here. Here we go, folks. Highlights coming up right now for you here on this channel. Justin Verlander on the mound for the Astros. In the first at bat, he comes up. It's Simeon making the first throw, and he got the first out. It was a beautiful, beautiful play right there. Absolutely amazing performance there from the outfielders. But that one gets in for a base hit from Seager, and that's going to open the door up for the Rangers. Now to the plate is Mitch Garver with the guy on first and one out. He's going to just bounce this one out to Verlander. He gets the out at second and the out at first for the double play, and they get out of the first with no issues. This brings you bottom of the first again here. Jordan Montgomery at on the mound today, with the hope of the Rangers resting on him to take game one. As Altuve gets a monster pop-up here out to left in that forbidden cove, but that play is made by Evan Carter, and no problems. A second hit going to left. Bregman looking. Another amazing catch by Carter, making it look so easy. That rookie is absolutely lights out, man. I mean that. He was bailing out Montgomery left and right yesterday. Phenomenal plays. Jordan up against him. He struck him out. Montgomery striking out Alvarez. You can't see that every day. And that's going to bring us to the top of the second here. Verlander up against Carter. Gets a nice little grounder here for a base hit going up to first. And he's going to go try to steal second, and he gets in because Pena could not hold on to the baseball. Abreu just missing that play there. So Carter on a roll here. Making a great play so far up to this point. So now that's going to bring up another batter, Jonah Heim, who gets a nice little blooper into right center that's going to allow Carter to come around and go home. And the throw wasn't good from center, and the Rangers are already up 1-0. Again, I said this was a low-scoring game, but man, they made it work. Josh Jung gets a nice little dropper into left that puts a guy on first and second here. Rangers in a good scenario, and that one a little bit off the plate, and that's going to be a ball 4. So with the bases loaded, that brings up Marcus Semien again against Verlander. With 2-2 and 2 outs, he pops it up. And by getting the pop-up here, it opens the door. Altuve gets the final out of the second, and they're able to get by that. So now they go into the top of the fourth here. 1-0 still Texas. Carter up to bat again. Great play by Altuve there around the first, between first and second. Gets the first out. And then Lau hits a nice one out to left, but that one is going to be just short and caught for the final out of that one. Bottom of the fourth, Chas McCormick up to the plate. It's a nice one that drops in for a single out to right center, and he's going to be safe first. So now you got a man on first with 2 outs. Dubon at the plate gets a nice hit to the left. That's going to put a guy on first and second now with 2 outs for Montgomery. Pena hits a base hit right there, and they got it shallow enough that they can keep the guy at third. So bases are loaded with 2 outs, and up to the plate is Martin Maldonado. This is a guy who's had many great postseason moments, and Montgomery strikes him out. Gets out of the jams. That's 2 bases loaded jams that Montgomery gets out of going into the top of the 5th here at this point. So up to the plate now you have Taveras, who has walked, and he gets a hold of this one and sends it to right into the seats, and the Texas Rangers take a 2-0 lead on Justin Verlander. When people thought Montgomery would be the one to get banged up on that day, I should say last night, the Rangers turned it around and flipped the script as Seager strikes out here to get the final out of the top of the 5th. Rangers up 2-0 here, and it would stay this way the rest of the game. Bottom of the 5th, Montgomery dealing to Altuve here. Bottom 5, he sends this one again into left, and Carter just robbing play after play from Altuve. It's actually ridiculous. Bregman hits this one to short here to record the second out of the bottom of the 5th, and Alvarez swings and misses on a low breaking ball to end the 5th inning. But again, the story overall is this is how the game ended. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this on YouTube because of that. But I'm going to cut it short just because I don't want to risk the stream getting taken down, so we're going to cut it short right there. Montgomery was absolutely lights out yesterday. I definitely said Evan Carter by mistake. I 100% meant somebody else. It was a different Carter. I'm going to get the name. I apologize, everybody. Because it said S. Carter. Unless I'm completely wrong. It is Evan Carter. So then why did the stream say S. Carter? That didn't make sense. Okay. Well, again, Montgomery dealing like a machine yesterday. Important thing to note here. Montgomery pitched over 6 innings yesterday, 6.1, 5 hits allowed, no earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 90 pitches. Phenomenal performance from Montgomery to keep Texas alive and to get them an early edge here on Houston. Because let's say Texas loses today, right? They'll be 1-1 in the series, and they're going back to Texas. They win both those games. Boom. Guess what? You're in a huge advantage. You've got 3 games in Texas next. The first 2 games are in Houston. The next 3 are in Texas. And then the next 2 to close out the series would be in Houston. So if this becomes a 5-game series, you're in Texas for the next 3 after you win, if you don't win today. So if you win all 3 in Texas, congratulations, you're going to the World Series after winning in 5 games. That's huge. It's huge. And Texas is a better home team anyway. Houston's better on the road. Texas is better at home. It's actually weird. It's like opposites with them. It's interesting. It's really interesting. But it's also not just Montgomery you got to credit here. You got to credit guys like Spores and Chapman and Leclerc all pitching really well yesterday in the jams that they were facing in the bullpen. Great job holding it all down. When Verlander got pulled in the 7th as well, he had 2 earned runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and a homer, in 101 pitches. Hector Neris and Abreu came in to close it out for them. But unfortunately, the Astros were not able to come back, and Leclerc got the big save. The Rangers took Game 1. Now Game 2 is tonight, 4:37 on Fox and FS1 Eastern Time. Houston is heavily favored in this one, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't get why. And I'm going to explain to you why. In this game for Rangers and Astros, the pitching matchup is Eovaldi versus Valdez. And Eovaldi was a Cy Young candidate. This man has been stunning this year. Coming back from injury, not his best stuff. But he has been a constant in the rotation. So Eovaldi will be out there for Game 2 against Framber Valdez. Valdez has been very, very bad. He has not been good. I am not sugarcoating it. I'm calling it like it is. Valdez has not been good for for Houston. So Valdez has a lot of work to do. He needs to put out a statement tonight saying, just because I lost one game in the playoffs doesn't mean I'm a bad pitcher. And this would be the game to put out that statement. But the question is, can he do that? The Rangers have, again, the most potent offense in the postseason. And in the MLB this year, they had the second most, behind the Braves, who are out. But of the teams remaining, they have the most potent and effective offense in all of the MLB. Their bats are the most consistent and the strongest. And Valdez got lit up last series by the Twins, who were a mediocre hitting team that was relying on its veterans to try and do some work because their young guys started falling short. So now what happens when you have a really good lineup with like 4 or 5 guys who are hitting consistently over 300 and lighting up opposing pitchers? They lit up Verlander yesterday. I mean, you can classify lit up as whatever you want, but 6 hits and 2 earned runs, that to me means they got him a little bit. And those guys made a point. They put it clearly out there that we're not messing around. We're here to win. We want to go to the World Series. This isn't your time. It's our time. Now, how do you change that mentality of the Rangers? You got to go out there and dominate. You can't let a run go. If Valdez lets one run go, it will get out of control. And so he's going to have to pitch a shutout tonight to make a statement. And a shutout would definitely mean the Astros win. So, do I think it happens? No. I think Eovaldi's going to outpitch him. I think he's going to outperform him. Valdez will give up like 3 runs. And he might get pulled early. And as a result, they're going to have to go pitch a little bit of a bullpen. And the bullpen may keep him in it. They might get a couple hits on Eovaldi tonight, a couple runs. But I still think the score is going to be something like probably like 4-3. It's going to be really close. 4-3, I'm thinking, is going to be the final score in favor of the Rangers going back to Texas. Back to Arlington, I should say. Going back to Arlington, they should be in the lead of this series 2-0. They should not be tied. But again, anything could happen. It's baseball. I've been wrong before. We've all been wrong at some point. This could change. So, Texas, again, tonight, Game 2 in Houston, 4:38 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox and FS1. Armand talking about Montgomery here. Montgomery was dealing last night. It helps him get his bag this offseason. Absolutely. Ever since he's left the Yankees, he has been a phenomenal pitcher. His numbers since he left and went to the Cardinals first have been out of this world. And I think a change of scenery was what he really needed to come out as a pitcher and emerge as a guy who could really be a serviceable 2 in your rotation. Maybe even a 1 if he continues to fine-tune it. And also reports say the roof will be closed for Game 2 between Rangers and Astros today. I expect that because it's supposed to be, I don't know if it's supposed to be like raining down there or if it's, I got to check the weather on that one. Let me check the weather report. It's going to be sunny and 77. So I'm guessing they're going to try to avoid the sun and glare, so they're just going to keep it closed just because. Just make it a fair game and not get accused of anything. It's smart. It's a smart play. I don't blame them. But this moves on as well. We're going to before we go into the story about the Marlins, let's talk about what happened with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Phillies. Tonight, we get Game 1 of the NLCS. I gave my prediction saying I think the Phillies are going to win this series. I'm rooting for the D-backs full-heartedly. But I think the Phillies win the series. And I said it's probably going to be a 6-game series. Phillies will win it. Diamondbacks are going to fall short. But I'm really pulling for the D-backs to win. This first pitching matchup has been confirmed. The game is at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS in Philly, Citizens Bank Park. Zach Gallen versus Zach Wheeler, the battle of the Zacks. Zach Gallen has been a phenomenal pitcher this year. He hasn't been that great in the postseason. Wheeler, great pitcher this year, has been even better in the postseason. 2 pitchers One guy trying to break out of a little bit of a postseason slump. One guy trying to maintain his postseason heat. We got to see if that continues tonight. The D-backs, not a phenomenal hitting team in the regular season at all. They were like a middle-of-the-pack average unit. But in this series, in this postseason, they've been completely different. They've got a bunch of guys who can contribute and give you hits anywhere. And they've been great. They really have. Before we go into that, let's see what Wheeler has done career-wise against these guys as I give you a game preview real quick. Now, these are always important numbers because this determines how well somebody's going to hit and the likelihood they're going to hit well against Zach Wheeler. Because a batter may have a bad year, but there are always going to be certain pitchers that he hits well against because they're pitching for some reason. They see better or they recognize the seams better on their throws, and they just able to get a hold of it and be able to be more predictive of where to put the bat. And it just works in their favor. So for Wheeler, here's some of the guys to watch tonight who could go crazy on him. Lourdes Gurriel has hit 300 against him. So 10 at-bats, he's got 3 hits. One of them was a homer, which was a solo shot. Struck out 4 times against him, though. Evan Longoria, 2.22 average against him. 2 hits and 9 at-bats. One of them was a double. He struck out twice. Ketel Marte, probably of the group, him and Tommy Pham have been the best against Zach Wheeler. That's not an exaggeration. Ketel Marte, 4 hits and 10 at-bats against him. One of them was a double. One's a homer. He's got 2 RBIs in that span, as well as 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. So he hits very well against Zach Wheeler. Another name to watch as well, like I said earlier, Tommy Pham. 11 at-bats he's faced against Zach Wheeler. Gotten 5 hits in those at-bats. One of them was a homer, 2 RBIs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. And the other name as well to consider here, Christian Walker. 17 at-bats, he's recorded 9 hits, 3 doubles, 1 homer, 4 RBIs, and struck out 4 times against Zach Wheeler in his career. These are all career numbers here. So the names to watch tonight who could have a big game are Walker, Pham, Marte, and Gurriel. Carroll has faced him 5 times and has never recorded a hit on Wheeler. Other names, Gabriel Moreno never recorded a hit on Wheeler in 3 at-bats faced. Perdomo's registered 1 in 7 at-bats and it was a double, which resulted in 2 RBIs. And another person who's also registered a hit, Pavin Smith. That's another guy to consider here. But overall, these are the main guys to watch. Gurriel, Marte, Pham, and Walker. Those are the only 4 guys that have really done well against Wheeler in their careers or at least gotten a decent amount of hits. That's what's gonna take tonight for them. That's what it'll take. Now, Zach Gallen against the Phillies could be a little different. The Jersey product righty, 28 years old, has been in Cy Young conversation this year. I don't think he's getting it clearly, but he is a very good pitcher. So here's where it gets interesting. These are the hitting statistics for these guys. The one player who hits really well against Zach Gallen, it's still I still can't explain. Brandon Marsh hits really well against him. Brandon Marsh in 4 at-bats has recorded 2 hits and a strikeout. That's 500. Again, small sample size. I like the sample size of 10 or more, but you can't really pick and choose what stats you get. So you got to roll what's available. The only 2 players who have recorded 10 or more at-bats against Gallen in their career are Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. Turner has had the most at 18, but in those 18 at-bats, he's recorded 4 hits. One of them was a double, one's a homer, an RBI, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Another guy who has recorded a decent amount of hits, Bryson Stott, 6 at-bats, 2 hits in those at-bats, and struck out once. Castellanos has only recorded 1 hit against Gallen in his career in 4 at-bats. Bohm has never recorded a hit on him in 5 at-bats. Harper is the other person who had 10 or more. In 12 at-bats, he's got 4 hits. One's a double, one's a walk, and he struck out 3 times. Real Muto has never recorded a hit against him in 3 at-bats, and Schwarber has recorded 1 against him in 7 at-bats, which resulted in a homer, 3 RBIs, and a walk, and he has 3 strikeouts against him. Garrett Stubbs, also another name to watch there, 1 hit in 5 at-bats, and that's it. That's the rotation. Almost everybody in the rotation in the lineup has recorded a hit on him. So that's a good thing for the Phillies. The bad news, the only ones that have really been productive have been Turner, Harper, and Marsh as the main guys. Those have been the ones that have been the most productive, and maybe you can count Schwarber if you want. But that's what I'm seeing overall. So that's that in terms of what's going on with the pitching matchup. So if I'm being honest with you tonight, I would be leaning towards the Phillies winning this one. Again, 8:07 Eastern on TBS in Philly, Citizens Bank Park. I'd be leaning for the Phillies to win this one. It's going to be 60 degrees. It's going to be a little chilly. Phillies favored in this. And that's it. That's really it. I really believe that the Phillies are going to be really good this series. And D-backs will fight for sure. They're going to fight, but I don't think they win it. I would love to see them go to the World Series. I want to see Texas and Arizona, but I'm not confident. I really think it's going to probably end up being Texas and Philly. I really don't think Houston's going back. I didn't think that from the beginning. I still don't think it now. And we're going to go to one more MLB topic before we go over into the WNBA real quick. The Miami Marlins today decided to part ways with their general manager, Kim Ung. This is going to lead into a talk I want to talk about, which, for some people, they may not like what I'm going to talk about involve this topic, so I'm going to group it into something else, but this is important to talk about. So Kim Ung is leaving the Marlins after 3 seasons serving as the general manager. She became the highest-ranking woman in baseball ops in MLB's history and the first woman GM in the 4 major North American sports leagues. It was a groundbreaking hire back during COVID in 2020, November. The owner of the Marlins, principal guy Bruce Sherman, said on Monday the organization was exercising its team option for her to return, but she declined the mutual option. They had offered her a contract extension beyond the option, and she didn't accept it because she wasn't completely aligned in the vision with Sherman for what was going to happen with the Marlins front office. So because of that, that's where things got different, and they disagreed. And so Ung walked, and they parted ways. And they said, "We thank Kim for her contribution during her time with the organization and wish her and her family well. We'll immediately begin a thorough and extensive search for new leadership as we plan to continue to invest in the Marlins organization both on and off the field." This is a big loss for the Marlins. I hope that's understood by everybody. This is she was the 5th GM in the Marlins history, right? And she's responsible for the construction of the roster that made it to the playoffs this year. And don't forget, the team that went to the playoffs back during COVID, too. I mean, that needs to be mentioned as well. Well, no, she wasn't responsible for that, but she was responsible for this specific playoff appearance. She's responsible for this. The roster construction that led to this happening. The trades, the acquisitions, everything was because of what Kim Ung did. And that has to be noted. It was their first postseason appearance in a full season since 2003 when they won the World Series. And, she said it herself. She's grateful for what she did in South Florida, the time she spent. And, I mean, they're saying that she's going to be linked to an opening in the Red Sox organization. I'll start with that. It's a growing likelihood that Kim Ung is probably going to be the next general manager of the Boston Red Sox. I'm saying it now. I'm letting you guys know. There's a very good chance it'll happen. It's been talked about by all the insiders on Twitter. There's a very good chance that Kim Ung will be the general manager of the Red Sox moving forward. Which, if that happens, Yankee fans, you better be prepared. You're gonna get completely crushed. You're gonna get crushed. It'd be nice to see Kim go to the Mets, definitely, Armand. I think that would be great, but I don't think that's gonna be possible. I mean, this is what I don't understand, though. The Marlins made this decision not understanding the impact of what she's done for the organization. She wanted to turn it into a championship-winning organization that had a great future ahead for it. And they just said, you know what? We have a different vision. We're going to continue to spend and spend and spend. And she was maybe saying, maybe we should invest in our youth a little bit. Just like, they did all those years ago when they invested in that youth and what happened with it. Remember? I'm sure we all remember. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, JT Realmuto, all those good guys that were there. And all those young prospects that were playing, that were doing so well. And they were just like, you know what? We don't need them. We're good. We're good. No. Just trade them all away. Very dumb. I have a feeling that could be another scenario that happens now with the Marlins. They're either going to continue to keep spending crazy money and not invest in their prospects, or they're going to invest in their prospects and trade everybody away again. Which, if that happens, I got to feel bad for Marlins fans because that's just terrible ownership. But it's over with. Kim Ung is probably going to go to the Red Sox. I'd love to see her with the Yankees. as I think she's a great name and talent. But unfortunately, we all know the Yankees. They will not even consider that. They won't part ways with somebody like that. Now, there is one other story I want to talk about that's connected with this, and it's going to go back to a story that goes back to, how do I put it? I'm going to go to Twitter and pull it up because I saved it, and it's just going to be, no, it's on Instagram. I'll pull it up on Instagram. I have it here on my phone, and there was a post last night made about somebody who actually made it to the, what was it? Someone who got interviewed for a managerial position, and it was not taken well by the MLB fans, and I have a lot of problems with it. So I'll explain it to you guys first before I go any further on the topic, before I speak out of place. But I definitely am going to address this one thing from Armand before I talk about this. I want to know if the Marlins would not consider for president of baseball ops, and they told her no, and she was like, I'm gone. I'm guessing that could be a possibility. I mean, again, the success of the Marlins have been great, and a lot of it has to be attributed to her and who she chose to be the manager. After Mattingly was gone, she said, I'm going to go with Skip. Let's go with Schumacher. And Schumacher, as we've seen, has been phenomenal. He fights for his guys. The guys love playing for him. That's what you want to see. And unfortunately, I guess they didn't want it. They didn't felt that there was enough there to maybe justify it. And then she was like, you know what? Maybe if you guys don't trust me enough and respect me enough, maybe I should go somewhere else. And they're like, okay. I think I think they were looking for Bloom is gone, so I know they were definitely looking for a general manager. Let me see what they say. President of Baseball Ops. Yep. They're looking for a new head of baseball operations, and Kim Ung would probably fit the description. So that would be definitely my guess. Is that she is going to try to become president of baseball ops over there. Yep, that's about right. You're right. You're definitely right, Armand. They're looking for a baseball ops president, so she would fit that general role, so I would be okay with that. I think the Red Sox really benefit from that. So, again, I'm hoping the best for her. She really is a phenomenal talent. But this brings me to my point. And it's a growing sense. I'm not going to accuse it. Especially with Kim Ung's place, but it feels like it's kind of like they're doubting her ability a bit. I feel like they're downplaying her. So I'll explain the other story that's really broken me. And really, it's been hurtful to watch. The San Francisco Giants went through a managerial hire yesterday. I mean, an interview was leaked of who they were interviewing for the case. I mean, for their new opening, right? Well, the Giants interviewed someone who is an assistant coach. You're not thinking much of it. Been in the organization. I'm going to describe it for you, and you guys are going to tell me if you think this fits the realm of what of someone being considered for a managerial position. I'll let you guys understand, okay? Sports management degree, right? I'll tell you now. The person's got a sports management degree. Has been with the Giants organization for over 10 years. Was an assistant coach and was serving as a bench coach at one point. They understand the organization. They understand the mission. They've been there a long time. They know what goes into building a good baseball culture. Is that somebody you hire? Do you go with an organization and bring them in at least for an interview? Would you do that? 10 plus years, sports management degree, has been around for multiple tenures, has knowledge of the team, and knows of the mission. Would you hire that person? To me, I would definitely interview. I'd give them a fair shot and interview and let's see what happens. Just explore it, right? That's what I would do. I'd hear them out and see, bring them the interview, see if they stand out as a real managerial candidate and somebody that we should definitely put into the final rounds of consideration. Can they make it past the first interview? If they do well in the first interview, maybe they make it to the second. And maybe we can see that this person could really take over, right? That's how you would view it. I would stand on that line. Well, does it change if I tell you that it's a woman? Would it change? Because that's been the big question. It's a woman. She served as an assistant coach on the staff. She was a bench coach this year. She was on the bases at one point, and she's been with the organization for 10 years and has a sports management degree. Now, you would still bring her in for an interview, correct? You guys said it, and I didn't mention any genders or anything. You guys would still bring her in. Okay. Now, She's the first woman to ever interview for an MLB managerial position, which is, again, a huge accomplishment. I love that for her, and for the organization. If she is a if she's a good talent and she has all these things that qualify her, I'm fully on board. I was okay regardless of gender. It didn't matter to me. But you go through the comments of these things, and you start to really see the way sports fans get sometimes. And it really pisses me off, because it's like, if you didn't match the gender and you just brought up a person, and somebody would have been finally okay with it. But because it was start out with first woman, this and that, or it's a woman interview for the job, they're going to be immediately attacking it. And here we go. Here's one example. This is a joke. No one should interview for a manager of a baseball team if you've never played in the MLB. That's a good question. You know what? You want to make a fair point like that? Sure. You want to make a fair point that you shouldn't be qualified in doing that if you never played. Great. Okay. Let's compare it to football then. Did Mike McDaniel ever play in the NFL? I want to know. Did Mike McDaniel ever play in the NFL? I know he was a ball boy at one point for the Broncos. Mike McDaniel played football as a kid. But is Mike McDaniel did he ever make it to the NFL as a player? That's a serious question. He did not. He played college football, was a wide receiver at Yale, didn't go to the NFL. He ended up starting out as a coaching intern with the Broncos in 2005. At one point, he was a ball boy working with them. Then he was an offensive assistant in Houston for 3 years. Then he became a running back coach at a college. Then he went from the UFL. He went to a UFL league and was a running back coach. Then he came back to the NFL as offensive assistant for the Redskins. Then he was with the Redskins as wide receivers coach in 2013. Then to the Browns in 2014 as wide receivers coach. Then offensive assistant in 2015 to 2016 with the Falcons. With the Niners from 2017 to 2020 as a run game coordinator, offensive coordinator in 2021, and then now he's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. You're talking a guy who started out as an intern, never played a single game in the NFL, and at 40 years old, he is in his second year coaching a major NFL team who is currently tied for first place in the AFC. So, I don't think that makes sense. There are cases, sure, I get the argument, but you can't act like it's not, good. Another one, let's see. Bet she will be the first to also get rejected for the job too. Has she played? Gotta hit that woke quota. I'm a Giants fan and can say, of course it's San Francisco doing this. Let's a token interview. Good for her, but let's be realistic. Good publicity, and that's about it. People posting laughing emojis. What's the point of having specific... Let's see... Here we go. What's the point of having specific rights for women to play and coach in women's sports if they just go in to take men's sports over? If that's the case, let's abolish women's rights and make it all rights, because clearly everyone thinks it's okay for women to be quote-unquote equal to men unless it doesn't benefit the women themselves. Now that's in itself a misogynist. In itself. That's quite literally a misogynist. Just throwing that out there, by the way. That's quite literally sexist. Talking about taking away the rights of a whole gender. I'm sorry. I'm not, again, not okay with that. But if the woman is qualified, I'm okay. I feel like it's not hard to understand. If a woman is qualified to do the position, I don't mind hiring her. If I think she's going to do it way better than everybody else, great. I'm going to hire her. But they didn't say they're hiring her. They're bringing her in for an interview. She's been a long time with the organization just to see how she stands mentally and if this is somebody they could consider. That's the point of an interview. You're not hiring the person. You're interviewing them to be like, okay, do they fit what we're looking for in a manager? That's it. It doesn't mean she's going to be hired or that she's going to make it past the first round, because there's multiple rounds to an MLB interview. I hope people know that. Head coaching interview, it is not easy. A manager's interview is multiple rounds. So she just did her first interview. That's it. Doesn't mean she's going to make it to the second. Oh yeah, Armand, they are very disgusting. This is on Sports Illustrated's page, by the way. On Instagram, Sports Illustrated's page. That's what I mean by we have an issue with sports. Because Because we have an issue with sports fans who are toxic to the point where if any person who's not a man tries to go into the position, it's immediately a bad thing. If it's a woman trying to go into a man's position, men are going to have a problem with it. And I don't think that's okay, because I'm telling you, I've seen this before. There are women I have spoken to about sports who could keep pace with me in conversation, which is actually insane because the amount of sports I talk 24/7 is nuts. But the fact that I know people who can keep pace with me and constantly go with new topics like this and that, it opens up the door to explain the main point. I'm tired of this barrier that people act like women can't be part of this. This isn't an exclusive, sports isn't exclusive to men. Women can be involved too. That's the thing. It's an open sport for everyone. Everyone should be able to enjoy it and participate. It's like, let me give you an example. This is going to be really controversial, but I'm going to throw this out there as an idea. Okay? Bruce Jenner, now known as Caitlyn Jenner, Olympic star, was great in the Olympics. If she decided to go ahead and coach for the Olympics, right, to become a coach for whatever it was, the track and field, whatever it was, right? Or I think, what was it, the high jump? I forget what it was called that he was a part of. But back when Caitlyn was Bruce, they were a gold medalist who had been constantly involved in I think it was cross country stuff, and he was very good at it. If he decides to come out and say, I want to coach the team, I don't want to put any quotas, none of that. It's all about winning a gold medal. And do you think people will be upset about it? That Caitlyn Jenner wants to coach the team or be of charge of all the men's and stuff, men's and women's? It's a serious question. Because to me, the answer is yes. Then people would absolutely be in outrage. But here's the thing. He won awards. He's proven he's successful. He knows how to do it. So I'm going to give this guy a shot, knowing that. I'm going to let him interview. I'm going to see how he interacts with the athletes. And that's how you get determination. That's where I would sit. If you guys didn't hear barking in the background, it's my dog. I apologize. She's barking at a cloud. Still barking. So that's what I don't get. I think there's an unfair thing going on with women in sports, and I think it needs to change, especially in sports management and management in general and coaching. That's got to change. That needs to change. If you're qualified to do the position and you have the knowledge and you pass the interviews, you hit all the quotas of what a team is looking for, there is no reason not to be hired. Plain and simple. It's like the same thing when I see people talk about, but the stuff going on when they talk about African American head coaches. And they go into the full detail of saying, why does it always have to be about race? Why is it about race? Why is it about race? I said, my argument is, listen, it's not always about race. And I agree with that. It shouldn't be about race. It should be about the coaching style. But I'm seeing guys who are super qualified to do the position. I've seen Brian Flores as the biggest example. That dude is qualified to coach right now. That dude could coach any team he wants. He doesn't. He's not coaching for that reason. Eric Bieniemy could be coaching a team right now. He's not coaching. There are plenty of guys I can give examples to. Raheem Morris could coach again if he wants to as well. The D coordinator for the Rams. He could coach. He's not. It's not always about the racial aspect. It's about the aspect of the judgment sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying ownership is racist. I'm not saying any of that. It's a similar concept in that people downplay it. They downplay the significance of it, I mean, look at one of the most successful coaches of this specific century is a coach for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin. One of the handful of African-American coaches who are still in the league and are coaching in this league. It's all about how much knowledge and experience did you put into this? How much do you care for this job? How much do you stand with our vision? How much are the players going to respect you and rally behind you? That's what it comes down to. And if you have to specify it by somebody's gender or race, then maybe you shouldn't be involved in sports. I'm not saying anything wrong. If you have to specify it by gender or race and have that take an effect in your hiring decision, whether it's for positive or negative, that's a problem. That is a problem. Because to me, from my squad, I'm perfectly happy with Todd Bowles right now. I mean that. With Tampa Bay, I am so happy with Todd Bowles as my head coach. I've learned a lot this year so far. Without Brady, he really isn't a bad coach. He isn't. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's an amazing coordinator too. Amazing defensive mind. And I've got no hate or disrespect to him anymore. And I've rescinded all my fire Todd things. It was all Byron. Byron was the problem. He wasn't calling right plays. He wasn't creative enough. So it made sense. But Todd has been great this year. I have no insults or anything bad to say about Todd. He's been great. I don't want to see him fired, actually. I really love what he's been doing. But again, it's another guy who's put so many years into the business of sports, of football. And he got his opportunity, and he's making the most of it now. So, nothing but love and respect. If you can do the job, you should do the job. You should get a fair shake at the job. Plain and simple. Regardless of gender and race and sexuality. That's how I felt about sports for a long time. People will disagree, people will be sensitive, but that's the way it is. And people need to get with the times. Because that's the truth. Gender, race, sexuality doesn't matter. If you can coach, you can coach. If you can manage, you can manage. If you can play, you can play. Done. And now we move on to the WNBA. Off that, Liberty, the New York Liberty survived last night and have forced a Game 4 after beating the Aces 87-73. A great game overall, I have to say, from New York. They did get an advantage, though. Unfortunately, it was very unfair in the sense just because one player did get hurt for the Aces. That's been an anchor for them throughout this postseason. And these finals, I should say. So I will give you guys some quick highlights real quick. These are coming courtesy of ESPN. Hopefully we do not get flagged for this, but we're going to go with it anyway. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities shown. I'm trying not to use celebrities here. But again, a very good game from the Liberty. As you guys are going to see, the one thing that was working for them was the 3-ball was absolutely in their favor. Last night, everything was going in their direction, in their favor. The Aces kept it close early, but the Liberty started pulling away towards the end of the second, going into the third quarter. And they were doing a lot of good work. Kelsey Plum obviously was the leading scorer of the series so far, if I'm correct. And of this game, she was the top scorer. I think she had 29 points. And for the Liberty, it has to be addressed that the best player in the series, if the Liberty somehow make a comeback and win this thing, the MVP is 100% Jonquel Jones. Jonquel Jones has been phenomenal for the Liberty up to this point. I mean, she has been anchoring this team inside, outside, whatever you want to call it. She's been on point. Sloot has been doing her job. Defensively, they've been dominating inside this game. They did everything right. Brianna Stewart picked up her pace finally. She got in some good shots last night and good defensive efforts like you saw just now on there. And Sabrina finally waking up from beyond the arc and she's sinking her shots again, which is what they needed. And I could say the same thing for Johannes. She was doing pretty well as well yesterday. Like here's Sloot throwing it across. Boom. Open look 3. Cash. Every time. And that's the beauty of the game. They had better pace, better teamwork. I enjoyed everything they were doing. Everything was very good for the WNBA yesterday. Great performances. So Plum had 29. Jones with 27. If I go through the full line of everything that happened, Asia Wilson, not a great game for her, honestly. Asia Wilson, 16 points, 11 rebounds, no blocks, 1 assist, 1 steal. So double-double, sure, but it was her best game. 4 of 16 from the field, not a strong performance. Overall, the Aces shot 32% from 3, while the Liberty shot 43%. They needed to be good, and they were able to get their 3-ball working, and it worked in their favor. Jones, 4 of 7 from 3 yesterday. She was the best 3-point shooter. Thornton had 2 of her own to add to that. 2 for 2. Vandersloot was 1 of 3. Ionescu, I said, needs to be better. She was better, 3 of 7. Laney was 2 of 5. Stewart, 1 of 4. But overall, as the best shooter and scorer yesterday was Jones, 10 of 15 from the field. Brianna Stewart, 8 of 16 as well. Sloot was 5 of 10. Everything worked in their favor. So 27 from Jones, 20 from Stewart, 12 from Laney. Ionescu had 9, so she was the lowest scorer of the starting rotation. Sloot had 12. Thornton with 6 off the bench. And Johannes had 1 point off the bench, 1 of 2 from the free throw line in 14 minutes. But really, the other question is, Ionescu wasn't just trying to be the main scorer, so she was the main facilitator. 11 assists as well. Stewart, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. Jones had 3 blocks of her own. Ionescu had 2 blocks. They were a block machine yesterday. The team of the entire Las Vegas Aces roster didn't record a single block yesterday, as compared to the Liberty, who recorded 8 of them. What a game they had, honestly. They were stealing the ball like crazy, the Aces, don't get me wrong, 7 steals. Liberty with 4. But the scoring was what was the ultimate separator. Wilson didn't have her best game, 16 points. Plum played lights out, 29 points, put the team on her back. 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 5 of 10 from 3, 10 of 22 from the field in 40 minutes. Chelsea Gray, who did end up with an injury, may not play in Game 4 as a result, had 11 points in 34 minutes, 4 of 12 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. And off the bench, they had Alicia Clark, who's been one of their big anchors so far in the series, underrated. She had 9 points of her own in 27 minutes, 1 of 5 from 3, 3 of 8 from the field, and didn't miss a free throw. But regardless, the Aces offensively were not playing their best game. Now Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, the Liberty are going to have to try and do it again to tie the series up and send it back to Vegas for Game 5 in a do or die. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping for the best there. Yeah, Armand, you're absolutely right, the replies from the segment we just did about baseball and the way it's been treating women lately, and at least the fans, it's been constant every sport. The replies are really disgusting. They are terrible. And it's why I'm saying sexism, misogynist, it's there. It's misogyny and sexism. It's 100% there. Can't say those kind of things and expect no cutback or response. Sorry. But yes, Liberty did everything right. They're going on a good trend. Let's see if they maintain it in Game 4 and can force a Game 5 and have to get a big win in Vegas. And this brings us to our final segment of the day. This is what we've been waiting for. Once we're done with this, you guys are free to go on your way, and we're done with the show for the day. And you can rewatch the VOD here if you guys missed out on the show on YouTube, on our live section, on the Brian Mansell Show channel, and on Twitch as well, on our channel, the Brian Mansell Show there. That'll be under the VOD section. You can watch all the press broadcasts there. This one will be there. They're up for a week. Everything else you got to watch on YouTube. So that's where to go. That's where you go. But Monday Night Football, Cowboys and Chargers is the game, people. That is the game. Cowboys, Chargers. Let's see how it looks for this game. Pulling it up now for everybody to see. The Cowboys and Chargers have a big game today, right? Dallas 3-2, trying to stay pace with the Eagles, who just dropped their first game. If Dallas can win this game, they'll only be a game back from those Philly Eagles and can keep a fight with them moving on for the rest of the season. Their season ain't over yet, but they need to beat the Chargers tonight. The Chargers themselves are looking for a big win too. Dallas has a couple games before they got to play the Eagles, so a big win tonight would really help their case. They got the Chargers tonight in LA. Next week they go to the Rams and they play that one in Dallas, and then they got to go to Philly in the first weekend of November 5th, to play the Eagles. So they have a couple games they need to win to keep pace so that they can really take an advantage early. That's what it's going to take. And that's what I need to see from them. That's how it's got to go. That's what we need to see. That's what the pressure for the Cowboys here. But for the Chargers, it's a little different. The Chargers are 2-2 here. They're coming off a bye week. They need a big win. Eckler's healthy. Herbert's ready to go. They got Keenan Allen, who's been a beast this year, proven to trying to turn the clock back on his years. He's been playing really well. A lot of questions going into this one for the Chargers. They're a little beat up, but they can probably handle it. No, you will not see a Loie Gilman tonight or Dean Leonard, the corner. Questionable to play is Palmer. Joey Bosa is expected to play for the Chargers, and Parham is also questionable. For the Cowboys, they have no Leighton Vander Esch. Doubtful to see Wanye Thomas, the safety. CJ Goodwin is out, and the questionable person here is Chuma Edoga, the guard. Will he be able to play tonight? We don't know. But at this moment specifically, we're talking about how this game could go for the Cowboys or Chargers. Okay, thank you. We got our 14th follower here on Twitch. Thank you so much, Jenna, for going ahead and following us up on here. We are one follower away from hitting 15 followers. Hello, how's your day going? Do you watch anime? I did watch a little bit when I was younger. One of my good favorites I used to watch when I was a kid is when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of I watched a little bit of One Piece. I was more of like a Pokemon guy though, and like that was more where I stood in terms of anything like that. I was more of a One Piece. I was more of a One Piece guy, but I was really into Pokemon more than anything else. Pokemon is 100% still to this day one of my favorites. I don't engage anymore. I mean, I stopped following it when I was 14, 15. And since then, I mean, I've just been all sports. I've always been sports. And it took priority over everything else. But yes, and I think she left the chat. Okay, so she's gone. And she sent a message. Thank goodness the auto mod caught that. I think she might have been a bot. So thank goodness for that. But we're going to continue anyway with what we were talking about. The Cowboys and the Chargers. Cowboys are pissed about the way they lost to the 49ers last week. They got a lot of things to do to redeem themselves here. They've only won one game on the road this year. They're 2-1 at home and 1-2 on the they're 1-2 away and they're 2-0 at home. But they're on the road. They need a big road win. The Chargers have lost a game at home this year and also won a game. So the opening here is for the Cowboys to even it all out. They need to get even. Dallas is favored in this game, -1.5. The over-under is 50.5 points for this one. I would hope it goes over so my fantasy matchup, I can stay alive. But we will see. Here's the thing. The Chargers are going to have key starters back. Herbert is dealing with a fractured finger on his non-throwing hand. It's not going to stop him from playing, though, but he's got a broken finger. Even though Dallas took that hard loss against San Fran, they're looking to build up. And here's a good positive for them in terms of statistical trends. They're 9-1 in games following a loss since the start of the 2021 season. They are 9-1 in the games after a loss. So that's speaking good to their mantra. They could drop their second, though, and still know we can't really trust anything. But the Chargers are trying their best to stay alive in this race early for the wild card. They're trying to. A win here puts them over 500. A loss, under 500. They need this badly. They're going to have Eckler back. They got Derwin James back for the first primetime game of the year. James had a hamstring injury in Minnesota a few weeks back, and he was inactive against Vegas. But the bye week definitely helped him healed up, and he's ready to go. And so even though the Chargers are healthier, they're going to be facing an angry Cowboy squad with a chip on their shoulders. So they're prepared for whatever the Cowboys bring. Another interesting story with this game is that Kellen Moore is facing his former team for the first time since he left this offseason. So, and for those who don't know, Kellen Moore used to be the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys back when Jason Garrett was still the head coach. He spent 8 seasons with them as a player and coach from 15 to 22, and the last 4 seasons specifically have been as the OC of Dallas. Now, the Chargers are 5th in league in total offense and 6th in passing, and that's mostly credited to the way Kellen Moore has been calling the offense and structuring it this year. It's been looking very good. Break calling from Staley and his coaching is still in question, but Moore has been good on the offensive side. Moore's credited still with the development of Dak Prescott, who's, struggled now in an offense led by McCarthy without Moore. I mean, in terms of secondary concerns, the question will be sitting with the Chargers because Asante Samuel, Michael Davis, and Josser Taylor are entrenched as the starting corners because J.C. Jackson was traded to New England. He wasn't playing well in the Chargers anyway, so it makes sense to trade him away back to where he was. So they did that, and now they're going to be down an extra man in the corner spot, but it's not a big deal. They can handle it. They're going to fight through it. They still have a good unit with Asante Samuel leading the way. Now, CeeDee Lamb is still frustrated. He's got a chip on his shoulder as well, so if you're looking to put a bet on anybody today, I don't know what the over-under yards are for CeeDee Lamb, but I would definitely put over 50 yards receiving. He's going to have a field day on this offense. 50-plus yards for sure. I think CeeDee might get a touchdown too. But an important thing to remember also with Herbert that's going to help the trend if you're trying to pick money line here for who's going to win the game. Herbert has won his last 3 starts on Monday nights, which includes both from last year. He is 6-6 in primetime games overall. He's got 24 touchdown passes in those starts, which puts him 4th since he entered the league back in 2020 during the COVID year. And the Cowboys are finally going to play their projected starting offensive line from training camp for the second time. So even though Biadasz had to leave with a leg injury in that game, he returned, and McCarthy's optimistic he's going to be out there again with Tyron Smith and Terrence Steele Zach Martin, and Tyler Smith. So they're going to have their full offensive line fully healthy for the second time this year. Maybe with a couple questions around the center spot with Tyler Biadasz. And this is just overall the good glimpse of just some stats and little trends that you guys can jump onto here to really get a good feel for what's going to happen. That's what I'm thinking. I'm actually not a big Naruto fan, Jenna. I'm definitely not a big Naruto guy. I'll be honest with you. I really wasn't as much as a kid. It just wasn't something I'm into. I did watch a little bit of Dragon Ball. Nothing too crazy. I mean, in terms of anime, I didn't really get into it that much. I mean, I definitely tried to get into FMA a little bit, Alchemist, which I made through a few episodes. Well, I did watch some Death Note and a little bit of AOT. That stuff I have done, but I really haven't watched any of it in the last year or so. I've been trying to focus more on my work and the stuff I'm doing here on Twitch, so I'm not really watching as much these days. Most of anything I watch is really just YouTube clips and like reruns of South Park. That's my show. South Park by far is my show. Can't ever change that. South Park is my show. I love it. Armand on YouTube. My anytime touchdown parlay tonight is Quentin Johnston, Eckler, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, or Lamb, and bet responsibly. Yes. A reminder to everybody, if you're going to bet on tonight's games, remember this. Always bet responsibly. Make sure you're 21 and over. Don't bet if you're underage. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. Don't do what I did in high school. In high school, I used to just do a little bit of betting with my friends a little bit. We just put a little cash down, make friendly bets for games that weekend, and we just had to pay each other a little bit. We used to do that all the time. That was when I was in high school. But when you're dealing with stuff online like FanDuel and DraftKings and all these sites, please make sure you're 21 and over and that you're eligible to draft in your state and to bet in your state, and that you just do it responsibly. Again, I am not responsible, and Armand is not responsible for whatever bet you put in tonight for this game or whatever bet you put in the future. Everything comes with a risk. Bet smart, bet responsibly. Please don't bet your entire life savings on a parlay. Please don't. But I do like the parlay. You expect to be a very offensive game. So you got Johnston, Eckler, Ferguson, Cooks, or Lamb. And on FanDuel, Lamb's receiving yards is over under 72.5. Okay. If I'm being honest, that's a little much. I will say over under 72.5. I'd say under. I think he's gonna have a big game, but I just don't. I'm iffy. I'm not confident like that. I'd probably say over the 50 plus. I'm one of those people who likes to do alternate receiving yards. I like alternates. Alternates are usually really good like that. You can build a good parlay out of that. So I'd say alternate receiving would be like CD Lamb 50 plus. If you're going to do passing tonight, that's a good one. I got Justin Herbert 300 plus tonight. And that one probably isn't a popular one. I got him at 300 plus because I just think he's going to throw all over that Cowboys secondary. They got nothing. Without Trayvon Diggs, they are a shell of themselves. And it is the truth. So if you're going to bet that, I bet that too. If I'm picking a winner here, because I'm probably going to pick a winner of this game, I think the Chargers win this game. I think the Chargers win. The banged up Dallas defense is what's going to be the decider here. And I think the advantage goes to the Chargers from that. Has the Chargers defense been good this year? No. Will they be better than the Cowboys in this game? Yes. Why? Because Dak Prescott is the quarterback. Thank you very much. I'm taking Justin Herbert and the Chargers to win this game. If you're betting money line, go Chargers. If you're going with the spread, bet Chargers. I mean, that's where I'm going with this. I'm going to probably do 50 plus receiving for CeeDee Lamb. Anytime touchdown, I'm going with Eckler. And I'm probably going to stick with that. And then if I do another passing prop. I forgot about passing. Justin Herbert, 300 plus passing yards. And in terms of receiving yards, we'll do one more. I would probably go with, I don't know actually. In terms of receiving, I will say, man. Actually, no, I take it back. They haven't been good betting. I mean, the passing, they've been a really good pass defense overall this year, even without Trayvon Diggs. I'll take the charge. If you're doing a bet on Herbert, do 250. Do 250. Play it safe. 250 passing yards plus. CeeDee Lamb, 50 plus receiving alternate. Chargers, money line or spread, whatever one you want, whichever one's odds is better. But I think Chargers win this game. And if you're going to go Chargers receiving, right? Oh, I said anytime touchdown. Eckler. If you're going to do receiving yards, I'd go with Keenan Allen today. With Keenan Allen, you're going to go 50 plus on that as well. 50 plus for Keenan, 50 plus for Lamb. That's where I'm at. I'm safely in that territory right now for betting. Safely there. I'm not changing from that area. I'm right about there. 50 plus for both. So that's my current parlay. So we'll run that over. I'll write it down too, so I'll get you guys some odds on that later today. So CeeDee Lamb, 50 plus alt receiving. We're going to do Eckler anytime. I think the Chargers win, so I'm going to say for me, I'll probably go Chargers ML. Money line, I'm sure the money line is going to be in favor of Dallas, not the Chargers, so I'm writing down Chargers ML. In terms of receiving, we'll do Keenan Allen. And that'll be a 50-plus alternate receiving again, too. And I think that was it, right? Eckler anytime touchdown, CeeDee Lamb 50 alt, Allen 50 alt, Chargers money line. That's where I'm at on my bets. I've got Chargers winning this game. If I'm doing a score prediction, over-unders. I don't like over-unders, honestly. Over-unders are tough. I'm going to go with the, over-unders 50.5 for this game. I could see this being a high-scoring game. Totally. Let's see. I mean, right now, if you're talking about what each team averages, like, scoring-wise, I'm going to have to look at the NFL stats, like, for scoring. Let me take a look at that real quick. Okay, NFL stats team. We'll go offensive leaders, total yards. The Chargers are third in total yards as a unit. In terms of passing yards, they are the second top passing yards unit. That's why I said 250 plus. In terms of points per game, the Chargers are averaging 27.5. The Cowboys averaging 26.8. So about 27 to 27.5. Combine that together, you're talking 54.5. Do they go over that? Do they go over the 50.5 because of it? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Chargers get 30 tonight, and the Cowboys get 24. 30-24, it'll be 54 points. It'll be close, but the Chargers win at 30-24 tonight. So Chargers final score, I'm at 30-24. It'll be the over 50.5. This is probably all done with Caesar's odds on, what's it called? ESPN. But I don't know exactly what the parlay odds are for here. So while we're sitting here, before we log off the show and call it an episode, I'm going to go into DraftKings and get you guys the odds on the parlay if you put it down. Because I'm pretty sure the odds are going to be 100% like a plus 800 or plus 900. I'm pretty sure. By doing all this together, it's probably going to be a plus 900. And that includes the over. So I'm going to do that real quick and put it together for y'all. And DraftKings has the Super Boost tonight. So if you are betting, they do have the Super Boost. You can apply that to your bet. You'll get a boost on your odds. Specifically tonight, it looks like let me see what the odds are right now, currently at the moment for this game. And they're having an issue with my internet connection. Give me 1 second, folks. If you guys are still here in the chat, say what's up. Send in some reactions there into the chat so I know you guys are still here and tuned in. There we go. So the odds are Pollard and Eckler have 100-plus rushing yards combined. That's been boosted to plus 100 odds. If you think Pollard and Eckler will combine for 100-plus rushing, you can put a bet on it. It's plus 100. Free to bet. So that's the boost. But now let's talk about the game itself tonight. I'm going to put the parlay together now and tell you guys what I'm at. So let's start with the first thing. The over-under is 50.5. I'm saying it's over. So I'm at over 50.5. I've got the money line in favor of the Chargers, which is a plus 105. Plus 105 for the Chargers here. So the odds are at plus 268. Touchdown scores. Anytime touchdown. Austin Eckler's a minus 170. We're going to add in there the alternate yardage of Allen and CD, and we will decide where we're at that point. And I just realized I forgot the Justin Herbert thing. So receiving props. For alternate receiving, we're going to be at CeeDee Lamb 50 plus is a minus 380. So we're going to add that in there. Keenan Allen's at a 50 plus, which is a minus 700, which I don't know why. So you might as well just not even put him there. So we'll get rid of Keenan Allen. And then we'll add in the plus 250 for Herbert. Plus 250 for Herb. And I'll tell you guys what that odd looks like. Oh, wait. Plus 250 is actually kind of low. It's a minus 140. So that means we'll probably have to group one in there. Right now, with the 5-bet slip we have, you're talking about a over 50.5 points combined, Chargers money line, Eckler anytime score, 50 plus CD, and 250 plus. No, I didn't say Dak Prescott. You heard Dak Prescott there. Sorry about that, people. 250 plus for Herbert. There we go. With 250 plus for Herbert, that's going to put us at a odds of plus 525 for this one. I don't know how that's going to look, but I think we could throw in maybe one more person here. If there is an anytime touchdown guy that I would totally be okay with on this one, a part of me wants to throw in, let me see, I think one of Armand's people I was looking at as well. I think this could be a game where you see a guy like Josh Palmer get a touchdown. A Palmer touchdown would make sense. So I'm going with Josh Palmer for a touchdown as well. So Josh Palmer and Austin Eckler scored touchdowns tonight for the Chargers, both of them. That will put them at, in total odds, plus 1,400. At plus 1,400 with these 6 picks, your odds, if I bet $5 down on this, turns into 75. Now again, bet responsibly. You don't have to tail what I do. This is where I'm at right now. I'm going to lock it in now here live on the stream. $3 bet because I like to play a little safe. $3 bet. The payout's $45. Chargers money line over 50.5 points. Austin Eckler anytime touchdown. 50 plus for CeeDee Lamb's receiving. 250 plus for Herbert's passing. And Joshua Palmer anytime touchdown score as well. So 2 touchdown scores from the Chargers. I expect them to do a lot of damage tonight. So $3 down. It's locked in. That is the bet, people. That is the parlay for tonight. And with that, we have reached the end of the stream. If you guys are tuning in for the first time here on YouTube, please consider subscribing. We're going to have more content coming out in the next couple of days. That's going to be very entertaining and fun. I'll say that in the short. Because after today, I got a couple of days off. I got a few days off from work so we can focus on some content on top of the stream. So it'll be a lot of fun. Trust me. It'll be a lot of fun. And on top of this as well, let me add this in as a little other thing. If you are watching this on Twitch for the first time, please consider giving us a follow. It goes a long way in helping this channel grow on Twitch and get us more exposure in the sports community on there. Again, thank you all again for watching, for tuning in. You guys could have done anything today and not watched me, but I appreciate all of you being here. Palmer's questionable to play. Okay, then I definitely I already locked the bet. I'm kind of screwed. So if Palmer's questionable to play, then I guess take Palmer out of your bet. I locked it in. So I can't change that. I can't cash out. So I'm just gonna hope that he plays. If Palmer plays, maybe he'll get a touchdown. I'll be getting through free. But again, I was not aware that Palmer was questionable. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm probably gonna lose that bet. But again, like I said, bet responsibly. Don't be like me, who can be a little reckless sometimes and not do the full research with betting. So don't be like me. At least it's just $3. That's how I say it all the time. But again, if you're watching this on Twitch first time, please give us a follow. It goes a long way in helping us grow the channel and make it something bigger down the line. But again, thank you all so much for being here. If you guys are coming in late or didn't get to watch the whole stream, you guys can rewatch the whole stream again on YouTube under the live section on my channel, The Brian Mansell Show. And the same thing goes for the Twitch. On Twitch, you can watch the VODs for up to a week. After the week is up, you guys are not going to be able to access that anymore. It will be gone. So please, if you guys enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing or following us here on Twitch as well. So again, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys here again tomorrow. Moving forward, big deal. Big news. Moving forward, this channel is going to be moving on live at 11 a.m. instead. We're not doing 10 a.m. anymore. It's getting too difficult for me to be able to be here through my night shifts and make the quick turnaround like this to be able to be here for the show. So 11 a.m. now, Eastern time here on Twitch and YouTube every morning during the week. So Monday through Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the Brian Mansell Show here on YouTube and Twitch. Once again, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Bet responsibly. Enjoy baseball action and enjoy some football action today. Thank you guys so much. See you tomorrow morning.